Rogers Park neighborhood with Scott Szemkus of the Simon City Royals, nicknamed Twat.
There's my T-shirt.
The original
from the
one.
old days. That's one of those old original T-shirts.
Uh-huh.
You know, I want to clarify everything. People are going to dispute some dates, and they're going to make their own comments. Everything I say is true and real, as best to my memory. You ask me about dates, I can't remember. It's 50 years ago. So this is where we started. We started right here on Touhy and Ridge, because everybody, those 4 locations right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, were a grocery store, probably Indian owned. Back then we couldn't tell the difference,
right.
And they put a game room in the back. So that was like poison for young guys. You don't want to do that. You don't want to have to deal with that shit. And right next door there was a hallway. That's where I got my first tattoo. Right there in that hallway.
You still have that tattoo on you?
I took it off.
Took it off
when I was 14, because tattoos are a sign that you're fucking no good. And back in my day, the only people that had tattoos
the sailors and the prisoners.
That's it, sailors and prisoners.
That was
it. That's it. Those were the only people that had them, and they had different tattoos. The sailors would get a better quality when they were overseas, and we'd get them in prison and on the streets, and they were normally shit, and they represented your gang.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time when we were at Farwell and Clark, the cops pulled up, they lined us up on our knees, everybody made us take our T-shirts off, and took pictures of everybody's tattoos. You're identified, you're giving yourself away. So as I polished myself up, I got rid of all of those habits.
Oh, that's a good habit to get rid of. Should we take a walk down here?
We'll walk this way. Because we really hung out. We really hung out in the back here, around the back most of the time, because there wasn't a lot to do out here in front. And then we migrated. We weren't even here that long, because we migrated down the street. They opened up another game room on Touhy and Damon. We never coined it our corner because we had a large hood. A lot of other people had smaller hoods and people next to them. We had the Howard Street Greasers on Howard and
We
Clark.
got to talk about those guys too. They didn't exist for too long, but they made a lot of noise.
They made a lot of noise. They were a bunch of dudes that were cool at the time. You know, greasers, a lot of tall.
Yeah, now we're talking like
dudes.
71, 72.
Yeah, we're talking the early 70s.
Yeah.
Don Perry, Dago, he lived right over there, a couple houses down, and we all knew each other. We grew up in the same neighborhood, and at that time, this neighborhood was basically white.
Yes.
It was basically a white neighborhood, and that's why we didn't have any blacks or Hispanics in the gang. And the first Hispanics that joined, they weren't you know, hood Hispanics from like Humboldt Park. They just kind of blended in. A couple black guys blended in. It was a different culture back then. I don't really think that there's a prejudice. Like, you know, we fought with the Hispanics because it was something to do. You know, gangbangers just want to fight with everybody.
Right.
That's all you want to do. You want fucking adrenaline. And so you just fight. You just start trouble and you fight.
Did you guys participate with the sports teams, the boxing rings back here, or never? Like the organized sports back then?
Well, not really. We actually, they were our rivals, the Jocks.
Yeah,
because we were the kids from the other side of the track. And when you analyze it and you look at it, all the gangbangers' lives were fucked up.
Yes,
broken families. In the 60s and 70s, your parents didn't pay any attention to you. Go out and do whatever you want to do. And all the fathers were blue-collar guys.
Right.
We didn't have any guys with ties and wearing a suit coat. These people were hardworking, uneducated, hard-nosed people. This is where
there's some of the porches of Rogers Park that are well known.
These are the old porches, but these are renewed. If you can believe it or not, you take a look at that building. When I was 10, 11, 12 years old, we used to climb up those balconies.
To the very top of the roof.
We had a friend, Mary Dalton. She lived probably in that apartment over there on the 3rd floor. And we would climb up the balconies to get to the apartment.
Now, Touhy and Ridge, that section began in what year? By which year was it over? Why was it over?
Because we migrated. That's why it ended. We probably started it, I'm going to say around 75, maybe 74, 75. And then we migrated down here towards Pottawattomie Park because they opened a dedicated game room. It had seats, it had couches, and it had a bunch of games in there. We had alleys and streets everywhere, and then we had the park. And anybody who grew up on the streets, you know that you just hang out anywhere. You pick a porch that you guys hang out under, and a lot of it had to do with strategy, like where are we less vulnerable? You know, people are going to drive by and shoot us. When you're just standing on a corner,
right,
you're just open game. It's like a duck. And so we started hanging out at the park over there, and the park had a lot of facets. And being in the park, our numbers started to grow, because when we started here, and this is a funny story, when we started here, we were basically just a bunch of kids from fucked up families. And then 2 guys moved in from bad neighborhoods. And when
what were their names?
That was Jimmy Shin and Kurt Coker. And Kurt Coker was a well-known street thug, and he's still out there. I believe he's on your site. Kurt Coker, when I left, and then a lot of the guys from my crew left, he just kind of gravitated back towards the Harrison gents, because he was from that neighborhood. He was from the Latin
by Uptown, right?
Yeah, Uptown. He was from Uptown. He was half American Indian, and from Uptown. He came to this neighborhood, and he fucked up a lot of stuff.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he brought bad habits.
Oh, the drugs.
Yeah, he brought everything. His father lived near Amundsen. His mother's family lived over there on like Ainsley and Winthrop. Half of his family was Latin Kings. The other half of the family was Harrison gents, and back then they were tight. It was like one and the same. So he came, and then Jimmy Shin came, and Jimmy Shin had a sister, Kelly, and Kelly was really attractive. Yeah. Bruno knows Kelly, and Bruno knows the deeper stories. And she had a lot of royals that she hung out with, and before that, what inspired us, Duster was kind of the first inspiration. Steve Clark.
Duster, yeah, man, I know. Yeah.
So he was like the first inspiration, but then we just gravitated towards worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. And the habits got a lot worse.
And they get worse. It's like, you know that thing that everybody says, like weed is the gateway drug. Well, it's true. Because what you do is you drop the inhibitions. I remember when I was young, I said, ooh, I'm not doing that. I saw those commercials, it fucks you up.
Right.
And then later, you do that, and you do something else, and there's always those fucking guys. Sometimes it's just one, but the guys who just press it. They raise the bar, and they're willing to do anything. They're willing to rape.
What were those guys for the Royals like? Which ones did you say? Which members?
Kurt Coker, his nickname was Little Rat.
Yeah.
He was a truly violent person. This was the guy, he just recently went back to the joint after doing 30 years, I think for a murder, him and Stanley Slavin. I think he took the rap for Stanley, who was Savage from the Harrison Gents. So I knew Stanley, and his uncle was Crazy Horse, and his other uncle was Geronimo from the Latin Kings. And he was what you would call down.
Right.
These people were down. They were down for anything.
Yeah,
and Kurt, at the drop of a dime, stabbed somebody right in the face, hit somebody with a bat in the head. And Jimmy Shin was kind of that way too. He's locked up in, I think he's in Mississippi for murder.
Jesus.
And then when we gravitated over to Pottawattomie Park, it's like more people came. And we're all from the same neighborhood. We all went to school the same. Like, if I knew every house on every street here that had kids.
Right.
If they had kids, we knew them. And so when we gravitated over there, we started hanging around with the remnants of the Howard Street Greasers.
Oh, yeah. By 76, they were the remnants by that point.
Yeah, they were the remnants. There was still some of them, and there was a guy by the name of Russell Cool. I can't remember Russell's nickname. But Russell Cool he was really cool with me. He like took me in, he protected me a few times, and you know, the older guys are thugs.
Yeah.
So there were always the guys that wanted to fuck with the younger guys, take their money away, push them around, even give them a beating just for fun. So growing up on the streets is a hard road. But a lot of these younger guys, when they get older, then they're fucking these dudes up.
Oh, they are. Yeah, they're getting the stronger ones.
I remember when Wacker went away to prison on one of his many times. Wacker was from the TJO neighborhood. He was a Satan's disciple inside of the joint, and he was high ranking. He was up there like one of the armed guards for Augie, who ran Pontiac.
King Augie, yeah.
And they were tight. And Wacker was as violent as they come. So anybody who really knew the streets, they knew who Wacker was. And you had some really violent.
Now this area back in the day was kind of known for the pretty girls, the laid back lifestyle by the lake too, by the beaches.
This was
but
calm
also-
until a few fucking guys moved into the neighborhood and fucked it up. And then you had the migration, the southern
Puerto Ricans,
people, the Puerto Ricans, the Mexicans, not a lot of blacks yet.
No.
They were on Howard Street in the jungle.
Oh, yeah.
That was our nemesis over there. We had the Latin Kings and the Howard Street Lords. And since they were from
Howard
the
Street
same,
Lords.
the Howard Street
Okay, they're
Lords were
Latino?
white.
Okay, they're white.
But they were tight with the Kings. And we fought with them probably every day. And one day, Freddie Coleman, who was also from the TJO neighborhood, he came out. We had a rumble. We used to have these rumbles often where let's meet on this street, and we just get down. And my mother gave me for Christmas a sword cane.
A sword cane, yeah.
And you would open it up, and a knife would come out, a big long one. Well, we got in the fight with them, and they ran, and we were running them down, and this guy ran into a hallway, and Freddie stabbed him like 8 times, right? The guy was begging for his life. No, man, don't do it, don't do it. The guy was on his knees, and
he did it, yeah.
and he killed him, and he only got 3 years.
Huh.
He said he fell. He was running, and he fell, and you know, that was then. Things were a lot different back then. So when we were at
Pottawattomie, should we take the walk down there to Pottawattomie?
yeah, we can walk down there.
All right, cool. Standing currently by Rogers Chase by Pottawattomie Park with Scott Watt of the Simon City Royals.
Okay, right here is Touhy, and that's Damon. And that corner place right there was a game room. So somebody decided to put a game room in there, and they sold candy and chips and, you know, kind of like a little convenience store, and full of games. They put couches and chairs. It was the stupidest thing anyone could do. You don't want kids around. So then we came from Touhy, which is Touhy and Reese, which is only a block and a half that way, and we started calling this home. We didn't change the cards. We didn't change the corners because that was our corner. And I got to tell you, I was 9 or 10 years old when I designed those cards.
Oh, you were?
And somebody on one of these sites criticized me, and they said, "Hey, you were a saint." I was a saint. I don't even really know what the saints are because there's a halo over one of me and Kurt Coker designed that card. He could draw. He had the ability. I drew terrible. We took it to a printer, and they printed it up. But I already had a mind for organization. While we were here, I separated because I was the president. I separated people into positions, and I created a war chief. And that was IDS. He is Nick's short for idiot. He was the war chief because he was a good guy, honest, faithful. He didn't have a father. They have a townhouse a couple streets down, and I had a big barrel, like a garbage barrel, and we had bats and canes and sticks and axe handles, and we probably had 1 or 2 guns back then. I had a bolt-action 12-gauge shotgun and a break-open 410, and we kept that stuff at his house in case we had a war and we needed it. Hey, man, we need weapons. Everybody comes or he brings
The wars back then were mainly against the Kings.
Yeah, that's who our nemesis was. It was the Latin Kings on Howard Street.
Oh.
It was the Howard Street jungle, and somehow the Lords got involved in it because they were there with them.
Howard Street Lords.
The Howard Street Lords. Everything, almost everything with gangs has to do with neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You grow up in the same neighborhood, everybody's doing the same thing. Here it was a little different because we had a lot of jocks. They played sports, and these were white guys that worked out, and they didn't like us. We knew them since kindergarten. But, you know, we were becoming scumbags. We were wearing gas station worker clothes. That's what we wore. Wife beaters, baggy pants, and then the khakis came in, and we would all go down to Z Wallace. And you've heard of Z Wallace, right?
Z Wallace, yeah, but I got
Uptown.
a pair of baggies out of there.
Yeah, that's where we all used to go and get our baggies. They had, you know,
the surplus store. It's an Army surplus store.
Yeah, but the baggies had nothing to do with military. They were different colors, different stitching.
The hair comb pocket too.
Yeah, some of them were like painter's pants, and the other one had cargo pants. So while hanging out here, we hung around every street here, and since we were street urchins, you could find someone everywhere. And it was kind of like the fucking real old days. If you whistled, little fucking street urchins would come running out from everywhere to fight. And then we transitioned our way over to the park, and we hung out at the park a lot more than we hung out here. Let's go over to the park
All right,
and
let's
take a look.
walk down to Pottawattomie Park. So we're currently here by Pottawattomie Park.
That's Pottawattomie Park. And that's where we hung out, was inside there. They had a lot of recreational activities, and they had coaches that helped out. When we would get in fights out here in the field, the coach would come out and he'd go, "Hey man, what the fuck are you guys doing? You want to fight? Come in." He'd put boxing gloves on us. And then we'd fight with boxing gloves. We hung out in here because you could get water. There were showers, and there was a big gym with a basketball court and other shit to do. But in the back, that's really where we hung out, because there's benches. And like I told you, we're now only 2 or 3 blocks from Howard and Clark.
Yes.
So that's where the Howard Street Greasers. There was a restaurant, Bob's Big Pit, and that was only a hop, skip, and a jump back there. And I was telling you about Russell Cool. Russell Cool had a brother, Ronnie, and when Howard Street Grease started fading out, he created a gang, and he called it Katka, Cool and the Gang. And they tried
just
to
like
make
the band.
that go. And there were a handful of members, but they were nothing like the older guys were. But all of the Howard Street Greasers, their life ended tragically.
Oh yeah, why's that?
Because they OD'd, they got killed, they in and out of prison. They were all.
They were by Howardman and Clark, right?
Howard and Clark. It was like half a block in from Clark, Bob's Big Pit, half a block south from Howard Street on Clark. But they were the Howard Street Greasers.
Now, what high school did they go to? Like to Sullivan?
Yeah, they all went
Why
to Sullivan. Because it was Rogers Park. This was the area, and Senn is where you had the TJOs, and we got.
We'll talk about those too.
We'll talk about those in a little while. So let's go in the back and see where we hung out. Who have been involved with the Saints branch that they started in
Evanston?
Evanston, and I met him. And then he started coming over to Farwell and Clark and hang out with us. And I'll tell you, I remember the day when I looked at the wall, Farwell and Clark, and somebody took a roller of paint.
Yeah, the roller
of
him. Paint.
It was Michael Hodges, and he wasn't really one of us. He was one of those guys that came around, but he had some bad blood in him. And he painted the walls, Simon City Royals, and SCR all over the buildings.
By Farwell and Clark.
Farwell and Clark. Immediately, that neighborhood looked like Uptown.
It did.
Oh man, I was a fucking 100% street kid, and I remember walking up and I saw it because there was a cop. And some of you guys, if you're from Rogers Park, you'll remember him. If some of you are gay, you'll remember him even more. His name was Officer Newman. Officer Newman. He was a street beat cop. He knew everybody. Officer Newman, he got along with people, and he mixed and blended. And Officer Newman ended up getting arrested, having sex with an underage boy in his patrol car on Greenleaf and Ravenswood. And this motherfucker was after me, and I didn't know it. I'm a kid.
Okay, because he wanted you like that.
He wanted me. And he would romance me. He picked me up one day, and he's cruising around, and he gave me a speech that, I got to admit, he was right.
Yeah.
He said to me, "Scott, the fuck are you guys doing?" He picked me up here. It was right here, and he picked me up. We're going for a ride. He goes, "What the fuck is wrong with you guys? Okay, you're a gang. This is your hood. Great. Protect your hood. Don't let anybody paint on your walls. You guys don't want to fuck up your own neighborhood. Protect it. Anybody paints on your walls, you give them a fucking beating. That's what a gang is supposed to be." And I sat there and I said, "That's right." And not long after that is when Michael Hodges painted that wall. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you a kind of a sad revelation. A couple months ago, I hid this stuff for many years. I repressed it. I went on to build a life. And whenever anyone would see me or say something, kind of duck my head, because it was a great fucking time. But I did a lot of bad shit, and I'm not proud of it. Okay. And I especially the juvenile, delinquent, stupid shit. And my wife heard me talking to somebody. She said to me, "Wait, the people in your neighborhood didn't like you?" I said, "Oh, they fucking hated us. Everybody fucking hated us." She said, "Oh my God, I thought you guys were like the protectors."
The heroes, yeah.
And I said, "No, they fucking hated us. We made noise, we stole, we vandalized, we caused problems, we graffitied." And when you think about that, how fucking stupid can you be? Go fuck up somebody else's neighborhood.
Right.
Keep yours fucking tight.
But now tell me this, By the time the Touhy Ridge closed down, Farwell and Clark burnt up.
What happened is...
Did they coexist at the same time?
No, they didn't. So we gravitated over here, and we hung out right in this area back here. There's two areas.
Yeah, Pottawattomie Park, that's currently the Black Disciples, by the way.
Pottawattomie Park, right out here, because we were semi-protected from people attacking us, because we would hang out. There were different benches. I think you remember the old park benches. They were made out of concrete with wood slats, and along there where that guy is sitting, there were probably 6 benches lined up over there. So right near that big fat tree, the one further down, that's where we would hang out. And way back there, where you see those blue benches?
Yes.
There's a little nook in there, and it's backed up to the train tracks, and it's got a lot of foliage, and we would hang out over there. And at that time, we were smoking weed, and we were drinking, and we were up to no fucking good. I probably robbed every store's locker from every apartment building in this whole fucking neighborhood. I stole a bike across the street, and it was a really big bike, and somehow the guy found me.
Wow.
Because somebody told him.
It was a unique bike, maybe. Like
it
the
was
Schwinn?
special made. He was probably like 6'8", and he showed up at my house.
Did he?
He's like, I know you got my bike. I said, I don't have your bike. And he went over and he fucking drilled me and drilled me and drilled me. But there was nothing he could do because I was only the likely suspect. So he probably talked to the cops and they said, oh, it's fucking Scott. It's that motherfucker. Your bike is missing. Go look for him. And I took that bike over to Senn, and Wacker sold it to somebody for $15. And we were no good. Just no fucking good. So this is where we hung out right here.
The baseball field,
and
the little
right
benches in the back. Yeah, I mean, I see them.
And one day, I was walking all by myself down that street, and I was crossing through a field. There used to be a garden field at the end of that block, and I was going over to Bob's pit. And
those are the train tracks over here. Did you climb those back in the day too?
We fucking climbed them. We ran them. We hid guns in there. We did everything on the train tracks. The train tracks were amazing for catching snakes.
Oh, they were?
Yeah. You'd lift up garden snakes.
Oh,
so they were gardener snakes, and you'd just get bags full of them. And one day I was walking through the field over there, and this is when our war started with the Latin Kings. I ran into 2 kings. It was Taco Jr. and Ezekiel. I don't remember what his nickname was. Maybe Tiger. And I fucked them both up. I just started thumping with both of them, and some of the older Howard Street greasers saw me there, and I was just fucking fighting. And after that, my rep grew a little bit more, because when the older guys are noticing you, and they're like, that fucking kid could fight. And I don't know why I could fight. I can't tell you. Maybe I had more fear than other people, because I didn't want to fight. And when you're in a gang, there's often people in your group that want to fight. I don't want to fight some kid I went to kindergarten with. This is my buddy. A lot of gangbangers out there on the street. They're fucking cold-blooded thugs.
Yes, they are. Okay. Tell me about Touhy Park down the block here by Clark.
We gravitated to Touhy for a little while too.
Like to cool off the heat was getting too much over here?
What happens is, it's like, where are people going? And you go for the fun. Oh, yeah. And so there were guys over there that weren't really gangbangers, but they were brothers of gangbangers. And then we started going over there. And then you hang out and fuck up some other neighborhood. And like I said, we were lucky. Back then, you didn't have the Hispanic influence, and you didn't have so many, so there wasn't a gang on every corner.
No.
You had Howard Street greasers over there. You had the Royals here. The Royals, we were all the way. Our neighborhood was from the lake all the way to probably California.
That far. Yeah.
From Howard Street all the way down to Edgewater before Foster.
To the Jagoffs over there?
Yeah. Kind of to the TJOs, where we were safe. We could walk around. Yeah. We knew people, and we were okay. That is a big neighborhood. Some people got a patch. Man, they got a 4-block area, and they're at fucking war with guys that are 2 blocks down. Sure. And that's kind of how it became with the Kings over here. We had, because it started happening all the time.
Yeah, but thankfully no lives were lost, right?
There were some lives lost along the way.
Okay.
That kid I told you about, I can't remember his name, but it's online somewhere. Freddie Coleman stabbed him. And then Kevin Foley, whose nickname was Kid, He shot himself by accident in the head with a gun. He won a gun. Back then, the
dice
punks,
games?
Punk now
punk.
is a prison term for like a pussy, someone who gets turned out. But back then, average people said punk, the kids who were on the street doing nothing, getting nothing done. They used to lag coins. So they'd get a couple squares in the sidewalk, and you throw that coin, and you'd bet, and Kevin Foley won that gun. Where that kid got the gun, I don't know. I was trying to get it from him. I was working to buy it from him. He said, yeah, I'll sell it, but he went away on a High Ridge Chargers football tournament, and that turned into his last days of life. He was playing with it in a room, you know, and when you're young and you're developing, you're looking at the older guys, man. These are your role models. I used to look at the older guys. I would look at Wacker and Frenchy and I'd go, man, one day I'm gonna go to fucking prison. One day I'm gonna be fucking cool. And he was messing around with that, yeah, motherfucker, and boom, and he killed himself. That was a big tragedy in my life because he was probably my best friend up until that point. So that was a big fucking shot in the arm, and nothing stopped. We all went to his funeral, wearing sweaters and wearing baggies and honoring him, and then we would sit around in a circle and spill our cup of beer or wine and say, you know, to Kevin, rest in peace, Royals, you know, and recite our poem. And it's kind of
That was in which
up.
year, Scott? By 77, 76?
I'm gonna say kid died in 77.
77. All right. Like this section, this Touhy section, it was done by what? By 78?
Right about 78.
78.
We 77, 78 because like I said, it was all our hood.
You're right.
So we went from here. We didn't really hang out at Touhy Park. It was sometimes. And then we went down to Estes and Clark. There was the Adelphi Theater.
Oh, the
It was an
Adelphi.
old school theater, and right next door they had an old school soda shop. I'm talking like if you see the movie Grease, that kind of soda shop. White and red colors, and they had milkshakes and Coca-Cola and root beer floats and hot dogs and hamburgers, and all of us hung out there. The Howard Street Greasers were there, and some of the older Royals, and then the Popes.
Oh, the Popes
now, the
too? Which
Popes are in with us. We had a few guys. One of the guys who was with us, he didn't know what side he was on, Joey Carbone.
Yeah,
he
Carbone,
was brother-in-law of Bruno. So Bruno was a big influence for us for Royals because he's like, yeah, my brother-in-law Bruno, and then so Joey and this guy Mark Randazzo, they were Popes, but they were always with us. They never went to any Pope corners. I used to hang out with the Lawrence and Rockwell Popes.
The Greek Popes.
The Greek Popes. I knew Theo and Little Theo and Mo and Dizzy and Peck and all of these old school guys. And I fucking loved my time at Lawrence and Rockwell because summer, hot nights, fucking rocks everywhere, and the Gaylords, everybody would come by and they'd throw rocks at the car and we'd fight and we'd get shot at. It was the Wild West. The old school Greeks were pretty much third world people. They were fucking tough. Old school tough. All the windows were open. People had couches out on the street. It was just like Ukrainian Village or Chicago and Western. It was a different world back then. A complete different world. So how the whole Royal thing started with us, we were hanging out, we were hanging out with Duster. And Duster was a Royal. Stephen Clark. And then Jimmy Shin moved in, and then Kurt Coker moved in, and Jimmy Shin brought with him his sister, and the whole family moved in, and she always had Royals over at the house because she was a 17-year-old honey. She was pretty. She ended up marrying Gary Holcutt, who was from the TJO neighborhood. I don't remember if Gary was a banger, but he was a banger. I don't know who he hung with. He's still alive. Gary Holcutt's still alive. But she was hot. So there were guys flying around her like flies. And so we kind of had the blessing of these several different people. And then Kevin Foley, his cousin was a Royal too. He went to Gordon High School. So we just picked it up.
Gordon Tech over there by
Gordon
Lane
Tech, yeah, near was that Addison and the river.
Western,
And then we just kind of adopted it, and it just fit. And I was a Royal to the bone. I was never any other gang, never threw up any other gang size, but I hung out with other people. We were cool with the Popes, we were cool with the Greasers, we were cool with TJO, and any other.
But not the Gaylords over here, though.
No, not the Gaylords. And we also had the whatever they were called over there. What were they called?
What kind, like a white
Granville
gang?
and Clark. Yeah, white guys.
Like the turf, the blacktop? No, not the blacktop.
No, the blacktoppers were over here at St. Margaret Mary's. Maybe the turfers.
The turfers.
It was the turfers. So we were cool with those guys. Every once in a while, there was a problem between guys. And if you had a sweater, everybody wanted a fucking sweater. So when I was
tell the stories, getting those like the colors, the sweaters.
So when I was just a kid, we started with the sweater bullshit. You know, we started learning about it and colors. Our gym shoes were always either black or blue, and then you learned a way to web and tighten up those laces, and you had your colors.
Right.
And we were selling newspapers at this stand on the corner of London Western, and these two older gangbangers came by and they were talking to us, and we told them about one day we saw these guys come by. They were wearing sweaters. Fuck, man, they came by every day. Every day they were there, and
to get them.
Just to get them. Every single fucking day at 6 a.m, these guys were out there like, where are they? I said, I don't fucking know. I saw them one day walk by, and then they start talking, and they're starting already to betray each other. The one guy would come up to me and he says, how big is the guy with the black and white sweater on? And he's like, that's the one I want. This guy wants it too. Fuck that. We'll go heads up right now over it. And that's the shit I started learning. Your own friends, they're gonna fucking turn on you. Everybody on the street fucking turns on each other. And then when the drugs started and more street shit started, it got messier and it got worse and it turned into a mess. So from here, we gravitated over. We were hanging out on Estes and Clark one night, and some of the TJOs were there too. And there were girls, and it was hot, and it was just a lot of fun, a lot of commotion. And I looked down this gangway, the gangway from Clark Street, right, because I was leaning against a post, and I saw hands being thrown. And I just kind of walked towards it, like it was pulling me in, because the gangway was 3 feet, 4 feet wide, and it was long. It was like a block-long gangway in between a couple industrial buildings. And I started walking. As I got closer, I could see 4 or 5 guys fighting with one guy. And he was just kicking and punching and rocking away. And then he looked and he saw me, he goes, come motherfucker, help me. And I just jumped in and started fighting with them. And we just fought with these guys, and then they ran away. And he said, fucking Latin Kings, man, they jumped me over here. I came to take a piss. Motherfuckers jumped me. And that was Wacker. So that was the first day I met Wacker. I was about 12 or 13. And then
Did he come out of Paulina, Cornelia?
No, Wacker lived right across the street, half a block from Senn High School.
Okay,
Wacker was a strange character. He's the one I told you who turned SD in prison, and he was with
King
Augie.
Yeah.
He grew up in the TJO area, and everybody knew him as a TJO, but he was never a TJO. He knew them all. They respected each other, but there was a lot of fucking heat and rift between them. So I met Wacker that day, and right away we went up, and it's all after a fight. The adrenaline is flowing. Everyone's saying, yeah, man, Wacker. You could feel the awe and the atmosphere when he walked in. He was about 6'4" and probably weighed 130 pounds. He was fucking skinny and had fucked up tattoos, and he had a bad attitude. And you know, the toughest guys, they kind of talk with their fucking chest. The fuck that motherfucker want to fuck his ass up. Fight over anything, anytime, anywhere, and most of it meant fucking zero. So he tells me, get in the car, shorty. And I jumped in the car. It was Wacker, Giggs, and Snagger. Snagger was from TJO neighborhood too, but he wasn't really, he was just one of those guys that hung around. He owned a car. He was an auto mechanic. Him and his brothers kind of had their life together, but he was from the neighborhood. We got in that car, and that was my formal education. We drove from neighborhood to neighborhood fighting. We went from one place to another. We went every corner we could in Wacker. We'd drive by a corner, and we'd see 6 dudes out on the corner. He'd say, Snagger, pull over. Pull over, say, shorty, get out of the fucking car. Go over there and stand on the corner and just start looking at them. And just start looking at them. When they ask you what the fuck is up, he said, you'll see me coming around the corner. Yeah. And I just walk. I remember the first place we did it was on Foster, a couple blocks east of Western. And there were these guys standing out there, and I remember I'm just standing there, I'm fucking scared. Because these are all dudes that are 16, 17, and I'm out there, and I'm just standing there like this. And bangers can identify each other. You got the clothes, you got the strut, you got the walk. We acted like another species. And I'm standing there, I'm thinking, when are these motherfuckers coming, or did they just set me up? And right around the corner behind these guys come the three of them with fucking baseball bats. And they get about 5 feet away and they start representing and just fucking slamming them, fucking beating them. And we just thumped right there on the corner, ran back to the car, got in the car, talked shit, and lived on that adrenaline to the next corner and the next corner. And we did that all night until we got back to Senn. And there was this area where they hung out at Senn, a food place. As soon as we walked in, the owner said to Wacker, man, you guys got to be careful. Those spics that are over, back then they called Hispanic spics, and it was just a way of speaking.
Yeah.
And I believe the word spic's origin is no speak English.
Oh.
And so they said, oh, the fucking spic.
Oh, right.
So he goes, man, those guys they've been here sitting. They're looking for something. And a few days before that, Wacker had a beef with someone. So as soon as we came in, they left, and we walked out right away, and a car pulled up. I was walking across the street, and a car pulled up, and the guy just pointed the gun right in my face. It was right here. Wacker came running from the side with a knife and threw it right at the guy. And the guy turned and he shot Wacker in the arm. And Wacker and Gig still chased that car for half a block after getting shot. And I said, man, he just shot you. And he goes, fuck that motherfucker. I think he only had one bullet. He didn't shoot again. And they were down. These motherfuckers were
That's
down.
exactly what the
everything.
Royals they needed then.
We took him to the hospital, fixed him up, and then the next day, that was it. Me and him were almost inseparable. So I was with him, but he never became a Royal.
No.
He became a Howard Street greaser.
Wow.
And
Why was that decision?
Because I don't know. He was a Howard Street greaser, but he got violated out. So Glenn Dulo, who was Smokey, he was a boxer. He was an amateur boxer, and he was a really good amateur boxer. And Dulo, if you ever see this, Glenn, he was a good guy to me. He was a good. He protected me a few times. He was a stand-up dude. He ended up becoming a Jewish rabbi.
Wow,
he was an Italian gangbanger, met a nice Jewish girl. The only way he could marry her is if he converted. Right. He became a rabbi.
Wow.
Really amazing. So he told Wacker, I can't remember what Wacker did, but Wacker didn't abide by any rules in life. So he said, I got to violate you out. You're fucking out of Howard Street Grease. And he fucked him up and broke his jaw. And Wacker had a beef with another guy, a TJO by the name of Bob Takaki.
Yes, but I've heard the cop.
Is he a cop now?
He became a cop, I believe.
Yeah, he almost got
maybe
killed.
Maybe not, yeah.
He doesn't even know.
Japanese, though, Japanese.
He was Asian. Yeah. And they had a problem over a pack of cigarettes. He punched Wacker's brother, slapped Wacker. Wacker pulled out a knife and stabbed him right in the chest and went to prison for a year. That's all he got was a year. And when he got out, Wacker had me waiting in an alley with a shotgun, and they had a meeting. I was 12, 13 years old. I got a ski mask. I got a little fucking sawed-off shotgun because the other guy, Kid, who was there with us, he took off. He said, fuck this, and he left. And they came walking towards each other, and Bob put out his hand. He said, man, that's it. It was my fault. Peace. And that was the other time that God put his fucking hand on my shoulder, because there's no way I would have got away with it.
No.
They would have tied me back to him, and his getaway plan was about worth a shit.
Very skewed, and yes.
So after that night, it was just maybe 3 months, and I got in a fight on that street right over there. I kind of got jumped by these 4 jocks from this neighborhood here. I don't remember what it was over, but they stood around me at a party, and one of them sucker punched me, the other one punched me, and there was nothing I can do. They were 4 bigger dudes, 16, 17, and I got my tooth knocked out, and I got back in the party, and I called Wacker's house, and I left a message for him, and I said, hey, I got this problem, man. These motherfuckers at this party, I'm all alone. And he came over here, but I had already left the party, and he went in there and he ended up stabbing this guy, Rick Tenario, who had nothing to do with it, but Wacker was just that guy from the chest. Where's that motherfucker, man? Who fucked with my boy Scott here, motherfucker? And he stabbed him in the chest, and he went to prison for 3 years. And when he went to prison, this area was kind of burnt out. Now, Rick was a guy that we hung out with all the time, but he wasn't a gangbanger, he was a jock. But we hung out at the benches and we fucked off together, and there was a bad air after that.
Oh,
so that's when we transitioned.
Farwell and Clark.
They opened Silver Sue's.
That's right, the game room on the corner.
The game room on the corner, Farwell and Clark. So one day I was over there and I'm looking, and I go, this is our new fucking corner. And that was it. I coined it Farwell and Clark. And then we got bigger because it was a shittier neighborhood.
Oh yeah,
There
it
were
was
more,
much easier to get away with things.
and there were more kids from the other side of the track. And that's when we had a few Hispanic kids jump in and a
even
few
the black
black
kids,
kids. And there were just more of us. So it just got bigger. And then we got more serious because when you're on the street, you start out as an innocent kid, just like any other kid. First you're crawling, then you're walking, then you're running, sprinting, jumping. And now we were at another level. And my experience was Wacker up to that time. It just took me to another level because right over here, he made me fight with a bunch of dudes that I had a problem with. I thought he was gonna come and fuck him up. And he gets here and he goes, okay, who's the motherfuckers you got a problem with? And I'm like, them over there, I wanna go sick him on him. And I said, them. He goes, hey, motherfuckers, somebody here got a problem with him? No problem. He goes, bullshit. He goes, you point him out, I want you motherfuckers to line up. He's gonna fight each one of you one-on-one. None of this fucking jumping in, motherfucker. And that's it, I just had to fight. There was no way to say no.
No, there wasn't.
And then so your rep starts to increase. Things that the more shit you do, the more you get arrested, the more cops know you, the more the other gangs notice. Your rep is known, but you lose anonymity.
Yes,
like a celebrity.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere anymore. I couldn't go to a grocery store with my mother. I could be walking down the street alone and a car of Kings comes by and you're fucked. You're fighting in the middle of the street, and this happened everywhere. So Farwell and Clark it was. We went over to Farwell. Let's go take a ride.
Okay, let's go take a ride over there. All right, but we're currently by Farwell and Clark, a well-known Simon City rural section within the Rogers Park neighborhood over here.
I believe this is Glenwood, Ravenswood. Right here, Ravenswood, Farwell.
Yeah, Farwell.
That was our corner right over there. But we were in every alley, every gangway, every building, everything. We practically single-handedly destroyed this neighborhood. I'm embarrassed when I think about it.
Oh, there's the Kings tags over here. Do you see them?
Yeah, it's a new hood now. It's no longer the neighborhood that it used to be. That's what happens. People take over hoods. I heard that after here, the guys moved to Lutton Campbell. They started a branch over there.
Oh, they did, yeah, by Indian Boundary Park.
Yeah.
And I lived over there by Fitch.
We hung there too. That was a hood we hung at earlier.
They had a zoo back then.
They had a zoo.
Yeah.
Yep. And we knew the park keeper, the guy who was in charge there, Randy Bramlett. He was a good dude. And there was right down Lunt, a couple more blocks, there was a play lot. It was called Lunt Play Lot. It's near Lunt and Oakley. We hung out there for a long time because it was awesome. We cut a hole in the fence in the back. There was no clubhouse, so there was no one there to supervise us.
Oh, yeah.
And we could raise hell and drink, and anything happened, we could slip out that hole in the back of the fence.
Yeah, these buildings, they were here back then too, the little ones.
Yeah, these buildings.
Like townhomes.
But it's a much nicer neighborhood now
than back then.
Back then. I took a picture of the corner here about a month ago and put it on your site, and I was surprised when I came through. It was nice, and the people keep it up. I'm telling you, I'll show you the building here is that wall where they use the roller.
Yeah,
Man,
roller.
the day I saw that. You got a photo of that?
Yeah, that FC, yeah.
The day
Courtesy of Jinx.
No, there was another one where it was Simon City Royals with the cross and FC and roller. This was a different building back then. It was all brick, this whole side. We actually, when we were in battle, we used to climb the roofs because we could throw rocks at the cars from the roof. So, when it's your hood and you're a hood rat, you're fucking in it 100%.
Right.
You know everything, you know everybody, you know everything, every nook and cranny of the neighborhood. We ran these alleys. We were here for quite a long time. This was
10 years, 15, no, until the 90s.
This was a long time.
Yeah.
And the guy said, when I left, Poochie and me were tight when we were young.
Okay.
And so I left Poochie behind, and James Hayes. James Hayes was Sinbad. He got killed. What happened is I made a transition. When I started growing up, my mother moved me to a suburb. It was the best thing she could have ever done, but it was like culture shock. I wore baggies and Dago tees and a biker leather and a gang sweater, and I walked like this and I talked like jive, and I was 100% street, and I had a stupid cross on my arm, and I show up at an area where men have sweaters tied around their shoulders. They're wearing
scarves, the trench coat.
Penny loafers with an actual penny stuffed in it. and
Really?
they spoke well. The penny loafers have a little slit in the front, and people would put a penny. You can look it up.
Oh, okay,
And
I'll look it up.
These were preppies. These were people that spoke well.
They call them the dupers back in the day.
Every single one of them is successful. They all became doctors and lawyers and businessmen. And from here, from our corner, I want to say I am the only guy who made it out free and clear. I made it. I made it. I created a big business. I have 300 employees. I was able to get out, but it wasn't easy. So I tell anybody that thinks it's fucking badass and cool, you're taking the wrong road. When I was 14 maybe, my mother moved there. I came back for like another 2 years here. I didn't fit in. I felt like a fish out of water until the day I saw the Daring Brothers. That was Wacker, Gooch, Giggs, and Brian coming to look for me. They were coming down the street at Western and Howard, and I was at a little hamburger stand, Bill's Hamburgers, that's still over there. And it's on Western and Howard, where it turns into Asbury and Howard. And I see them coming across the street. They're all over 6'1". Wacker's 6'4", Gooch is 6'5", Giggs is 6'1", Brian is probably 6'6". They're all wearing wife beaters and baggies with fucked up gang tattoos. The wife beaters are dirty.
Okay, they look good though.
Nobody was in shape, but they were young and wild. They look like Sha-Na-Na.
Yeah, the
They're
Sha-Na-Na,
like
like rocker.
Bowser. And they're pushing Gooch because Gooch got shot by the Harrison Gents and he was in a wheelchair. And they're pushing Gooch down the street. When I saw that, I was like, man, this is what we look like to other people. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not criticizing. This is a fact. When normal people in our neighborhoods looked at us, they saw fucking thugs. That's what they saw. That kid's going nowhere. That kid is going to end up in fucking prison. And that's where I wanted to go because I thought it was cool. Because when they got out, they got a party. They'd get an ugly fat girl and they'd get a party. Oh no, I like nice girls. But nice, pretty girls?
Like they were not attracted to that
They're not
type.
stupid. They don't want a thug. I had a girl I was pursuing for years, and this other jock guy, he used to tell her, and then she would tell me, he's like, why do you talk to that guy? Man, he's a gangbanger. He's a piece of shit, you know? He's all muscles. And so when I moved to the suburbs, there was this girl I liked.
Evanston over here, right?
Yeah, I started going to this girl's house because I befriended her brother, and he had a pretty sister. And one day I showed up, and she had 2 young sisters, 9, 10 years old. And they said, come on in. Friendly, nice people. House was perfect. I lived in fucking shitholes paid by the government. And I'm just looking around, wow, there's a different life. And they were playing, I think, backgammon. And I had never even seen it before. What's that? We fight and we wear baggies and hang out on the corner and steal anything that's not nailed down. And they start talking to me about geography. They know the continents, the countries. They would correct my verbiage. Oh, I felt like a fucking idiot. I really felt like a fucking loser. 9 and 10-year-old girls are smarter than me. And at that moment, I said to myself, I am not going to be a dummy. Right. And it was a couple months later when Max Goodwin, the car thief from Sullivan, I used to hang around Sullivan and sell joints when I started at 12 years old.
They called them pinners back then.
I just called them
the
joints.
Dollar?
I could roll those things up for $1. And I remember one day, Frenchy came by and he robbed some other guy who was selling joints. He did me a favor because then I was the only guy. But Frenchy came by, he pulled up one of the doors where the guy is selling, and he shot up. He shot the gun a few times in the air, and then he shot it in the ground, and everyone kind of spread. And that raised his image even more, that these guys were down. Frenchy was down.
Oh yeah, he's still locked up in California.
It was trouble from the moment he woke up. Frenchy lived 5 blocks, 6 blocks down the street
Down
here.
the street?
So,
let's take a walk down.
When we bought a stolen car from Max Goodwin for $10 or $15, he broke out the little fly window, got in there. Max was a master car thief. Started it up, brought it to Sullivan, gave it to us for 10, 15 bucks. Poochie needed to run away. He had a troubled family and problems in his life. He wanted to get out of here, and he was my ride. We were tight, and I drove him to Detroit. We were siphoning gas and stealing the whole way. The same day I had to go to juvenile court, and they told me, if you're not in school on Monday, you are getting locked up forever. So this was the hood, and 2 doors down from here, so you have the corner store, and the store next to it that was Silver Sue's Game Room.
Oh, Silver Sue's was over here.
Silver Sue's was 2 doors down there. And about 5 blocks down that way, I think it was Newport and Clark, they opened a Dennis the Menace game store.
Yeah, that was well known too.
So now we had 2 of them. So our hood had 2 game rooms, and we could pick fights, and we could fuck with people, we could get shot at, and do all the things we needed to do in more than one location. And this was our hood. We knew every alley, every gangway. There was a McDonald's on that corner, and that library is one of those old school libraries.
Tell me about the beaches, the Foster Rocks, all those spots down here.
The Foster Rocks were everybody went.
Yeah.
People got in bad fights there and got hurt because you had gangbangers from everywhere. They called it Pill Hill.
Oh, Pill Hill.
That was basically Montrose and the lake. And I went there, remember, I was younger than these guys. So I didn't hang out with a lot of them. I didn't hang out with that many older guys that went there. And I remember one scene in my head I'll never forget. Gary Holcutt, he got a beating there. He fought with so many dudes, and when the beating was over, you couldn't even recognize him. He looked like he was
like a
fucking
pulp.
dead.
Yeah.
It was the beating of beatings. And this is what we aspired to. This is what we wanted. And it's also why I started learning how to fight. I wrestled, I boxed, I did kickboxing,
So did I.
I did martial arts, because I'm not going to be a victim.
Like, those movies were big back then. The Kung Fu flicks, the Bruce Lee's.
And then when I was about 17, I started kickboxing. I went into this gym in the
Van
city.
Damme.
Oh wow! When I saw kickboxing, I said, "That's me."
Oh, that's
Fuck the katas and the karate. I said, "I want kickboxing because that is rock'em sock'em." And so we were here for a long time, and then we handed it down. When I left, I was the glue that held this together.
Correct.
And my mother moved me, and I started to develop into a human, kind of.
Yeah.
Not really, because I had so many years of street. I was just a fucking no good thug. I was just a no good thug, but I started developing. I had a relationship with this teacher from my school. She was 11 years older than me.
Did you?
Oh, she was absolutely beautiful. She is the person who helped me the most single-handedly. Out of every hand of God that was placed on my shoulder, it was her. And I remember the day I was standing right there with Frenchy, because I used to hang out with Frenchy a lot. He was always good to me. I was hanging out with him right there, and he's like, "Yo, man, where you been?" Like, "Hey, man, I got this teacher. I'm over at her house." He's like, "Yeah, bro, where she's at, man? I did some." And it just bothered me. There was no honor. You've got somebody, and they want her too, and they'll go behind your back. And so I was learning. I was learning through her, but I was still a criminal. When I moved to Evanston, I did hundreds of burglaries. I stole something every day. And then one day, we were here, and 2 guys from our corner got in a fight. And one of the guys started the fight, Russell Aranda, just because he's a prick. And he just started the fight with this other guy, Chris Crow, for no reason. Because Chris Crow had mentioned when we were at Touhy and Ridge, younger, that Russell was acting like an asshole one day, and they fought, and Chris beat him.
Right.
And somebody said, "Hey, I heard Chris Crow beat you." We're talking a year or 2 later, 3 years, whatever it was, and we're right here, and he comes up and he goes, "Hey, man, you fucking said we fought and you beat me?" And the guy, Chris, said, "Yeah, man, I did." But in between that time, they became friends after he gave him a beating, and Russell lived in his house while he was a runaway. So he's a runaway, nowhere to live. He's on the street. The Crows gave him food. They let him live in their house. And he started the fight, and Russell got his ass kicked. One of the greatest ass kickings I ever saw. They started out standing up, let's go. And they got in a tussle, and they swung around, and Chris Crow got Russell's head pinned between a light pole, the old wooden ones. And he started banging his face by his hair on the pole. And P.J. Delafont, who was Frenchy, because he was Dutch and French, he was counting them. And he would go, 1, boom. He fucking left Russell with his pants peed, his tail between his legs, and fucking running down the alley. And Russell, I have to mention, Russell lived with that cop Newman for a few months.
Jesus.
Newman was a well-known pedophile. He went to federal prison for 5 years for having sex with minors. And Russell lived
What's
with
his
him.
first name?
I think it was William Newman. And
all right, we'll look that up.
He was a stud, man. This dude was strong. He worked out. He played racquetball, but he liked to fuck young boys. And he got good weed. He had a Model T. He had a Model T. He pulled that up here one day, and he said, "Yo, Scott, come here." And I go, hey, what's up? It's like this car? And I said, oh, this car is fucking cool. He goes, come on, let's go for a ride. I get him, we start driving, and he tells me, you see that corner right there? That's where we fucked up Russell Cool. Russell Cool had shot at the cops when he was a Howard Street greaser, and with a little shotgun, he was shooting at him and hiding behind posts, and he finally got caught. So when he got out of prison, he was standing on that corner waiting for a bus on Pratt and Clark.
Right.
And cops pulled up with masks on and got out of that Model T and fucking beat him good. and we never really knew who did it. We suspected it was the cops, but he said, I got Russell Cool right there. And then we drove down and we went all the way down Ridge and turned on Ridge in front of Senn, where it's TJ. He goes, this is a TJO neighborhood. I said, yeah, I know. He goes, I know them all. I know the leaders. And he goes, you see that guy right there? And he pointed to some guy walking down the street. He beeps and waves at. He goes, he's got the best weed in the city. He's a weed dealer. I'm like, oh, this cop
William Newman.
Yeah, this cop is cool. And we're driving down the street. And he goes, we're gonna go to Pill Hill, Montrose, and the beach, and we're gonna smoke some weed and hang out.
Right.
We're going past Bryn Mawr and Broadway. There's the train tracks, and Gary Callis, his brother, owned a pizza place there. I think it was Godfather Pizza. Gary lived upstairs, and we're passing there, and I see some fruitcake, you know, obvious homosexual walking across the street. I go, fucking homo. And he goes, whoa, Scott. What would you say, Scott, if you were with somebody and they put their hand on your leg?
Newman said that, right?
And, yeah, Newman said to me, he goes, Scott, no, you don't talk like that about people. What would you do if you were with someone and they put your hand on your leg and they started rubbing your leg? I'd punch him right in the fucking face. Fuck that motherfucker.
Yeah.
It's probably what kind of kept him away from me. And he pursued me for like a year after that. And then I got caught with the bolt. One of my girlfriends got caught with the bolt action for the 12-gauge shotgun. And Newman intervened because he was family with her. So now he had a vendetta against me, so he could even try to fuck me even harder. And I just stayed away from him. And then I started making my life in Evanston. And one day, I just looked at all of these betrayals and the drugs. The drugs started making people snitch. Kurt Coker did a burglary, and I bought the stuff, the stereo system that he stole. And 2-3 weeks later, my house gets raided. They took all my sweaters.
Which ones did you have?
I had a lot, man. We were very active.
The Kings. Yeah.
I mean, no, I still have those 5 that I have in the picture, but I had a lot of sweaters.
Right.
So they confiscated my sweaters. They confiscated a couple guns. I had a safe with money and jewelry and all the shit I was stealing. They took the stereo system, and I got arrested for the burglary. The only people that knew that I had that stereo system was Giggs, who was TJO Hood and Wacker's brother, but he was a heroin junkie, and Kurt. And Kurt didn't snitch on anybody. That motherfucker took a murder beef for Stanley Slavin.
Yeah, for Savage of the Harrison Gents. Tell me this, man. Down here, that's the 24th District CPD. Yeah, they had Sergio, fucking the bodybuilder. Yeah,
we knew him. He lived on Touhy and Ridge.
Yeah.
So we knew him since we were kids. He used to cross us. He was the crossing guard for the Chicago cops. He'd show up at morning for school. So I knew Sergio since I was a kid. But 24th was built a little later. They used to haul us into 20th on Foster. Foster, any guy who was in this neighborhood, they were in the Foster
They went to Foster,
station.
the great one.
Fucking beatings there. I tell people now, I go, you don't know what it's like. I used to get beat.
That's by the high school, by Amundsen.
It's close to Amundsen. It's
Damon and Foster.
No, it's a couple blocks east of Damon.
Yeah.
So closer, I don't know what street it's across.
Yeah, that's all right.
Maybe Damon and Seeley. Could have been Damon and Seeley. I've been in there more times than I could fucking count.
Yeah.
And then they built this one. By the time they built this one, I was weeding out of the gangbang.
That was in the 1980s or the 90s?
Right around, right around 1980.
Oh, 1980.
I said, I'm not going to be a dummy. And one day I was with my suburban friends who weren't gangbangers, and we were in Old Orchard Mall, and we run in, there were 3 of us, and we run into 5 Latin Kings. And
they're representing or no?
No, they knew me. They're like, twat, what's up, motherfucker? You know, and everybody does this shit, let's get down. I go, whoa. That's not me, man. I try and give him my hand. I say, oh, no, man, I'm done with that. No, man, that's always you, motherfucker. And you did this and you did that.
Yeah, it's too late for that.
I believe his name was Diego. I'm not 100% sure. It's
by Howard Street Kings? Or
yeah, Howard Street Kings. And it was on. And luckily, the 2 guys I was with, they had a lot of thug in them. And we beat the fuck out of them. Our shoes were covered with blood spots, but we were kicking them in the face. And that happened to me a few times.
Okay.
A few times. And then I almost got in fights with a few people because they'd see me and they'd go, twat. And I go, no, my name is Scott. Ah, come on, twatty. And I go, no, man, you'd say it again, I'm going to bust your fucking mouth. And it took a while for people to respect it. And I remember Wacker being in the joint, and he saw a guy from the hood, a banger. And the guy's like, yeah, man, what's little Scotty up to, twatty? And he said, he's not little anymore, man. He said, that motherfucker can get down. He said, don't call him that if you see him. He said, he'll fight over it.
Yeah.
And he goes, cool, man, because Wacker was a real street guy. He knew, you fuck with a young guy, he's going to get old. There was one guy, Sean, no, I can't remember his name. He was trying to burn my my biker jacket. He was a Howard Street greaser. He was older. He was my friend. We hung out in the same groups. He was drunk, and he's trying to take it. And I'm inside the Silver Suits. I'm like, no, man, I'm not going out, man. What the fuck are you doing? And he's like, I want that motherfucking jacket. And this other guy came in. His cousin, happened to be his cousin, gave him a fucking beating for me. So, you know, I had a lot of times I had that hand of God on my shoulder.
Yeah, you're very blessed, like, to have that, Scott. Tell me this, man. They're not telling. There was a lot of serial killings too with Gacy, with Larry Ayler. They killed a TJO. Like,
they killed this kid who lived on Estes, a little blonde homosexual. We knew him from grammar school. Yeah,
okay, what was his name?
Man, I can't remember. They were a little hillbilly family.
Will Bundy, maybe? No,
I don't remember, man. They were whole families, little blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white hillbillies. And he ended up being gay, and I used to run into him down like Belmont neighborhood out there, full-fledged little hooker boy. But you know, I knew him since fucking kindergarten. I'm not picking on him or anything, but that was a transition we went into. We started going down to the gay neighborhood to rob the gay guys. We would rob them to just have fun, give them a beating.
They call them the hustlers, the hustling back then.
Right down here on Greenleaf and Clark, we were standing out in this corner. I'm gonna say there were 20 of us. We're out in this corner one night, and the guys from over here, what did you call them? The guys from Granville and Clark
the turf guys?
Maybe it was the Turfers.
Maybe not, but that was like the 60s, the Turfers.
Well, they whatever their name was, it was the Luckers and Wayne Grills and a bunch of other guys from there. We all knew them, we got along. They pulled up here in about 6-10 cars, and they're like, hey man, we need help, man. We got in a fight out at a house in Skokie, man. We left one of our friends behind, man. They were fucking us up, there's too many. We all jumped in the fucking cars. Can you imagine the look on the face of these fucking yuppie kids from Skokie?
Like that,
when these fucking street urchins. We were the guys you saw in movies from the 1920s. Just fucking dirty, rotten scoundrels. And we went and fucked that house up from the moment we went in. We spread through that front door. They had a big room separator with dishes and frames. We fucking smashed that thing. Beat everybody in the fucking house half dead. Ran out to the cars, got in the cars, drove back here, and we were high on adrenaline.
Yeah.
We couldn't control it anymore. So we jointly came up with an idea. Greenleaf and Clark, half a block west towards Ravenswood, towards the L tracks, there was a gay bar. The whole front was blacked out. It just had a door. We went in, half of us went in through the back door. I think they sent me in through the front door. I don't remember because I'm young and pretty. They go, man, Scott, you go in through the front door. So I go in through the front door. It was the first time I'd ever seen it. I got this scene in my head. There were two guys French kissing, and this one guy is rubbing his hands through the other guy's curly hair. I was grossed out, and then bang, that fucking shit hit hard. We destroyed that bar and everybody in it. It couldn't have been more than 2 minutes, and then like cockroaches, we were out. And I ended up at a scummy apartment over there on Clark and Devon. And, you know, some of these guys, who knows who live there. But, you know, it's just a crash shack. And I had to get home. Somebody loaned me like a little kid's bicycle, and I rode that little kid's bicycle all the way back to Evanston. And then slowly I started weaning out of here. And then what happened is it helped me because Wacker and Frenchy were always in prison. So without their influence, because they were the ones who were like, come on, lad, let's go do a drive-by. Let's go shoot this dude. Let's go fucking look for some trouble. And Frenchy always wanted pussy. He always, we're the girl, let's find girls. Wacker was probably worse, but he had a different method to it. And so when I started growing and getting better, I started stopping over at Frenchy's house, and he was kind of getting out of it too.
Oh yeah, he was?
Yeah, kind of getting out of the gangbang. And he was hanging out with this guy, Bigfoot.
Like a pope or?
No, he was a half royal. His father was a cop. Let me think.
Okay,
of his
Bigfoot.
Name. Bigfoot. His name was Edelson. He became a cop in California. Frenchy went out there with him.
Yeah.
He ended up getting busted. The other guy going to federal prison because Frenchy just was a bad seed, man. That motherfucker couldn't stand
Serbian
trouble.
guy.
Yeah, he had a huge fucking bags of sweaters in his house. That guy was as down as you can get and as active as you can get because from here, we used to go hang out at Leland and Kenmore. Leland and Kenmore is where Poochie got shot because we used to hang out at that set. Was probably the roughest set in the city. They were surrounded by enemies. It was one house kind of almost in the middle of the block. Every fucking other corner was another gang.
By which corner, Scott?
Leland and Kenmore.
Oh, I believe Leland and Kenmore. Yeah, that's up, down.
That's Lawrence and Broadway. A block and a half in the back. We used to hang out there, and normally we'd hang out in the backyard or behind the garage. And someone climbed the Aragon fire escape, those old metal ones, with a rifle and started shooting, lighting us up, and Poochie got shot in the arm that day. And then I just started looking at the people I'm around and saying, do I want this for my life? And one day they came by and they jumped out of the car and they were shooting at us here. And there was a car kind of right there. None of us had a gun on us. And I was sitting behind that car and I was thinking, I'm gonna die today. And then I started thinking about my mom. I said, my mom doesn't deserve this shit. My poor mother goes to work and makes $2.30 an hour to feed us. We live in a government subsidized food apartment. And here I am fucking fighting with somebody for no reason. And then I started looking at things different. I go, wait a minute. I'm gonna fight with that guy because he's from a different corner. I'm gonna fight with him because of that. And I don't believe in that because we were all kind of the same person. It didn't matter. We all had personal and family problems. It wasn't a reason to be fighting because your corner is red and mine is blue because that one is green. Oh, it's fucking stupid because I would meet a guy, he's a C-note, he's just like me, he's another kid. I would meet a guy from the Ambrose and he's another kid, a Latin king, because I went to all the bad kids' schools.
That's right, talk about the schools, the Montefiore that you went to by 14th and Ashland, right?
14th and Ashland. I lasted maybe a week before they fucking booted me from there.
They had everybody there.
They had every fucking gang. School. That place was rough. I walked in that place and I said, holy shit, I'm not gonna learn anything here. This is gladiator school. And I went to Mercy Mission, I went to Angel Garden Orphanage, and then I went to Oak Therapeutic that was on Foster.
Oh, I heard about that one.
And that one was all gangs too, and we were in a different neighborhood. So you got to go to school and you got to worry about getting out, waiting for the bus. You're just vulnerable. Being in other people's hoods back then was a life sentence. Yep. I remember, we'd ask if there was a birthday party or something, what neighborhood is it and how are we going to go there? Because our uniform, those khakis and the way that we walked and the way that we threw our hands and all this bullshit, it just gave it away. It didn't matter where you were. They go, what's up, man? Represent. And you had to. It was just part of the street code. You got to represent it, and then it's on. Every once in a while, you're like, cool, man, I'm a pope, and you start talking. And then I started saying, man, this is bullshit. People are getting killed. People are going to prison. All this fucking disaster around us. I said, for what? We're not even making any money. I'm stealing bicycles. I was doing fucking burglaries, going in people's fucking houses and stealing their shit. And I said, I'm nothing but a fucking scumbag. And a few people told me that. So I didn't get mad, didn't get offended. I just said, is this what I want for my life? Started educating myself, going to school.
Did you go to school to like to a college?
No, I graduated from Evanston Township High School with honors.
Yeah.
So my brain was fine. I just never had paid attention. Graduated, had a lot of nice memories. I wrestled, I played some football. I had a lot of good friends, but I didn't mesh with them. I was different because I had this in me. And when I graduated, I tried to go to college, but I felt, I don't know if you guys can understand this. I'm not a pussy. I felt inferior to other people. I didn't feel like I could cut it, man. These people, like I said, wore sweaters wrapped around their neck, and I was from the fucking hood. So I just felt insecure. Would I make the test? Would I be able to do it? I looked at all these other people, all these yuppies, and their parents supported them. I had zero support. So I tried to go.
Was there a father that you had at home?
My father left when I was 4.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of the end. And then I got out of high school, and I was still in my last year of high school. I was towards the end of my last year of high school, and two of my little right-hand man came over, and I had told them about a drug dealer that we had gone to buy some Quaaludes from that lived on Brenmere near Sheridan.
Quaaludes were big back then, I remember.
And me and a buddy, we had some girls, and Quaaludes kind of went along with it. And I told them, I said, man, this guy had a fucking beautiful apartment. He had all this stuff, and they came and they said, let's get him.
Yeah, let's get him
go,
for
man,
everything.
I don't want to get in trouble, man. I'm about to graduate school, and I don't want this bullshit.
What year was that, the graduation?
No, it was before I graduated. And it was in October of 81.
Oh.
And they're like, when I look at the chronological order, I wasn't out in the street for very long at that time. It was brief periods, but back then, if you don't come to the corner for a week, a lot of shit happens.
Yeah.
There's shootings and fucking robberies and police, and you always want to be there. That's where they lined us up on the corner and took all of our fucking shirts on
Down
our
here?
knees, right there.
Oh, right there.
Right there, because we used to hang right there.
Uh-huh.
And so we went over it, went over the plan, and I said, fuck it, let's do it. And I didn't have a gun. I went and got a gun. We went and robbed this dude, and we got so much drugs and money. That was the beginning of a
How
whole
simple
new
was
life.
getting a gun back then? It was that easy, just like gotta
it
know
wasn't
some-
that easy.
No?
I had a girl whose father had one.
Oh,
And I
yeah,
said,
that was the only way.
I need a gun, and she said she stole her father's gun and gave it to me.
Did they have gun stores back then in the city?
They did, but it was very difficult, and people didn't have them. And you know, the guns that we got, most of them were out of burglaries.
Okay.
So you would buy them from a junkie.
Uh-huh.
I always had them come in and bid me bags of guns. But at that time, I was cleaning up. No gang banging. I'm not throwing up any signs. I don't want any bullshit. But Wacker's an SD, and he sent me the poem from the Satan's disciples.
Oh, did he?
We are as one. Man, I'll send it to you. I got it.
Yeah.
I remembered it. He said, man, you get locked up, you just start throwing up those SD signs because everybody was under them.
Correct. So that means that you were there for the folks
the
that
people
alliance.
and the folks. I wasn't gangbanging anymore.
Okay, but you were there when it
because I was
happened.
doing home invasions. I was there. Wacker said, you get locked up, you throw up those signs, and you drop my name, and he sent me the poem. We are as one, we are as one. I can't remember it, man. I
Yeah,
used to,
that's all right, but you knew it.
But I do remember it.
Yeah.
And then I started doing all that organized crime, and then all the little gangbangers around here, they were looking up at me and thinking, fuck, I was lifting weights, I was wrestling, I was boxing, I was driving fucking high-end cars. I had a DeLorean.
Holy shit, DeLorean.
Stainless steel,
Yeah.
the cars opened up like this. I mean, I was rolling. I was on my way to the big
Okay,
time.
what was that first business that you got into? Like, not the robberies, it was something else. The bodybuilding stuff, or?
No, what happened is, after I got caught with a load coming from Miami, and I ran away on the highway.
Cocaine?
Yeah, cocaine, and I got away. I was on the run for 5 years, so that's when I cut all contacts with everybody. I didn't talk to almost anybody, and if I did, it was back channels. Like Wacker was in jail, and I wanted somebody hit that was going in there. And so I went to Pontiac and visited him under a fake name
Oh, did
while
you?
I
That
got, probably 10 federal warrants.
Holy
But
shit.
what ended up happening is I didn't hit the guy.
No, you
I
didn't.
decided to give him a pass. We went to kindergarten together.
Oh.
I ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner at his house. His parents were great to me. I said, I can't do that. Fuck him. He snitched on me.
The Miami to Chicago connection back then
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
coke. Yeah, that wasn't with the Colombians, now was it?
It was with Colombians, and I was deep.
Yeah, you were deep.
I was deep into it. I was fucking
But you never
rolling.
left the States, though, down there.
When I was here, when I got caught, I ran away to Mexico.
Oh, did you?
And when I went to Mexico, I started a gym because and the funny thing is,
Which part of Mexico?
Guadalajara.
Oh,
I was
Guadalajara.
in Mexico City, Guadalajara, Puerto Vallarta, Acapulco, Cancun. And when I was in Mexico City in '82, I met one of the biggest drug lords. I'm not going to say their names.
Okay.
I know two of the biggest Mexicans, and I was buddies with them and friends and had a connection, but they got themselves into some big trouble, and I'm glad I wasn't around when
Yeah.
it happened.
Wow.
And then when I went down there, I knew people and had contacts, and people were throwing at me. Hey man, I got a ton. You want to take a ton of this? You want to take this? Help me with this. Give me a contact here. And I just said, I'm done, man. FBI came down there and got me. Helicopter landed in the street.
Yeah.
They put a fucking bag over my head. Fucking
It
whisked me
doesn't
away.
go. Guadalajara, huh?
Yeah. And then I came back here. I cleaned myself up, and I had a lawyer in Georgia for my case, and he said to me, "I'm going to help you out. The prosecutor and the judge are my friends, and I know you're just a young guy having fun and all that adrenaline. Just sit here and let us work on this case because the case was old. Everything was old. It was 5 years and 1 day. and the statute of limitation was 5 years.
Oh, yeah. So you got luck.
One day, I got the newspaper article. One day it says, Scott was pulled over on January 18th, and he was
captured,
registered into Peach County Jail in Georgia, January 19th, 5 years later. And I was like, I made it. And then they picked me up on, we were doing counterfeiting money and running guns. We were bringing loads of guns from Miami, because you could buy a gun at Miami anywhere.
What was Miami like back then? It was the high rollers?
Miami was just like a village, man. It was like being out in the country.
Oh, yeah.
It was a bunch of old people, and then you had the Colombians and the Hispanics come in, a lot of Cubans, but it was a lot of white crackers, and it was laid back. Oh, and they weren't ready for that gang explosion with the Cubans and the Colombians, because they just kill people. You owe them $4 and they're killing you. So we ran down there. I spent a lot of time in Miami, knew a lot of people, met a lot of good people, and I had a lot of fun. But I also fucked my life up. And when that lawyer said, I'm going to help you, Scott, because I believe you're never going to get in trouble again, it touched me. And I said, that's it, man. I cut off almost everybody in my life, and I got shunned by them later. So like when you're in a gang, and when you're in a group and they start seeing you get better, they're kind of like, man, that motherfucker thinks he's better than someone else.
Too good for us now.
Yeah, fuck him. And people would say that. I'd see them, and I'd say, hey, what's up? And they go, yeah, too good for us, huh? Don't come around anymore. I go, different life, man. Just a different life. I never fought anybody. A couple times I got close. Timmy Gabrielle, who was a Howard Street greaser snake, when I was 14 years old, he broke my nose. He was supposed to be one of the older guys. He was probably 20 when he did that. He had his hand around me and he hooked me. Bang! He broke my nose and a cop was right there. The cop said, what happened? And he said, it's my brother. Right, bro? And I go, yeah. I fucking searched for him when I was 18 years old. There was a nightclub, Peggy Sue's, on Broadway.
Yeah, I think I heard of it, Peggy Sue's.
Yeah, Peggy Sue's, and he was there. He was on crutches because he had his leg broken. And I knew the manager. The manager was Mark Schmidt. And I went to fucking kindergarten with him, so I know him. And I go, hey, Mark. He was the manager. And I said, see that guy over at the bar, that fucking scumbag? I said, I'm going to go over there and lay him out. He goes, God, man, don't do that. And I said, it's going to be really fast. Watch. And I walked away, and I went up to Timmy, and I go, hey, man, remember me? And he looked at me, because I told you some of these guys are just fucking bad attitude. What you talking about, man? I go, man, I'm Scott, man. You broke my nose at the carnival. He goes, so what the fuck you want? And I just fucking laid him out. Boom. And 2 weeks later, he was looking for me, and I was at someone's house, so somebody there set me up. Because the phone rang, and they're like, Scott, it's for you. And it's Timmy on the phone. Yo, man, what's up? And he said, you fucking hit me when I had my cast on. I said, listen, Timmy, you were going down whether you had your cast on or not. And the only reason I didn't stomp your ass when you were down was because of the cast. I said, so I'm going to go out on Ridge and Morris, because we hung out at that park at one point too. I said, I'm going to go out there and wait for you. So you want to come and get some, come and stand in line. And I hung up. He never came. So a lot of gangbangers were not bad motherfuckers. Now there are some out there, but not every one of them was good with their hands. But a lot of them will jump into a fight, and that's kind of more important than having just one guy who can fight a whole bunch of dudes that won't run. When I first met Wacker, he said to me, he goes, listen, I'm going to tell you one thing about this neighborhood. If we get in a fight and you ever run, you never come back to any fucking neighborhood where I am. And I said, I got it. He said, I don't care if there's 50 motherfuckers. That means 25 are going to hit me and 25 are going to hit you. Not all 50 are hitting me. And then one time the cops picked me and Wacker up somewhere over here on Clark Street. They threw us in, drove us around, gave us a hard time, and they dropped us off right in front of Senn. They opened the door and they screamed out, some fucking gang, and told us to get the fuck out. We stood there for about 5 seconds, and the whole field started running towards us, and the daring.
By that time, the TGOs were gone out of Senn?
They were pretty much gone, and they were gone. And we ran around the corner and ran into his house. He had guns and stuff there, and that was the end of his house got fucking windows broken and shot at, and the Harrison gents shot his brother in the back and paralyzed him. He only lived in the wheelchair.
Did you guys get all along with the Harrison gents too, the Royals?
We didn't. Not from here. We didn't have a lot of friction with them. We had beefs with them, and then it turned into more and more. Yeah, they were a rival. Okay. Right here, that's where the famous Simon City Royal Frenchy lived. With his mother and father, they were Serbian. They spoke Yugoslavian. Frenchy had a sister, and she had a really cool orange Corvette with like flames.
Did she?
Back then, that day, that building next door wasn't there. It was an empty lot, and they used to park cars in there. The white door, you see the white door? That went up to their apartment. They had some kind of business on the first floor, and then Frenchy had a training center down in the basement. Frenchy did martial arts.
Oh, did he? He was good at that too?
He did savate, French foot fighting. Oh. He was really good with his feet.
Yeah.
Frenchy could kick, and I was the same. I was kicking all the time, and that's where he lived. And the funny thing is, one of the most notorious gangbangers in Chicago lived there. And they built
the police station is over there. Yeah.
Just a hop, skip, and a jump. And that was it. They don't live there anymore. He doesn't live there. Frenchy's
the family, they moved out, yeah.
I don't know what happened to him. I lost touch with him. The last couple of times I came by when I was getting older, I was working out. I would stop by and see him. We'd work out and go in the basement. He was changing. He was starting to get bigger. He was lifting weights. He was training. And he was still a thug, but he wasn't banging as much.
Oh.
Maybe he was doing the same thing I was, trying to get away, but you get pulled back in because you go to a bar and you see guys because he's older. Yeah. You know, by that time, Frenchy was probably 20, and you shouldn't be gangbanging at 20. No. Gangbanging is fucking for when you're young and stupid. If you got a brain, you get into organized crime, you do something else. So
the motorcycle clubs too. The motorcycle.
That's what it's a natural thing. There was another Royal Corny transitioned from that into the motorcycle club. He's a
the Outlaws?
I don't know if he's an outlaw. Yeah, the Outlaws. They were on Division, right? Yeah,
by Grand and Division.
Yeah. I went over there and visited him a few years ago. They let me into the club. Those are some hardcore dudes. Bikers are some fucking hardcore. They're the guys who were in the streets when they were young. They're fucking hardened and raw and down, and they get into bikers. And there's a lot of violence and shit in there. So gang banging and standing on a corner and fucking colors and all that shit, it's kind of a waste of fucking time. You want me to fight? I want to get fucking paid. So I went out there and I started making money. I started robbing drug dealers. I want to tell anybody, if I gang banged against you and I ever gave you a fucking beating, I apologize. I was a kid and I didn't know what I was doing. The good thing is I wasn't one of those violent people, man. I didn't pick a knife up and stab somebody in the eye or the face or anything like that. Most of my shit was with hands, and I had a lot of those guys. There was another thing that fucking raised my rep. And this is another betrayal. We were at Touhy and Ridge. I was just a fucking boy. We got in some trouble in the Amundsen neighborhood, and that was mostly gaylords. But we
by Fosterman and Damon over there.
Yeah. We were in that neighborhood because Jimmy Shin and Kurt Coker, they were both kind of from that neighborhood. We went and hung out with one of Jimmy Shin's cousins. Nicky, if you see this, fuck you. So this guy, Nicky Traversi, he was a couple years older than me. And any of you young guys any of you old guys, old G like me, deny it, well, maybe you're just lying to yourself. We admired the older guys, man. I looked up to these fucking guys like they were fucking heroes. I remember when I met Honky, I thought he was the baddest motherfucker on the planet. He was about this fucking big.
Was he a Royal?
No, Honky was a Gaylord from, I think,
like the one who got killed by the King.
Yeah. Ainsley and Seeley, maybe.
Seeley and Ainsley,
And I looked up to these guys. I was a kid, man. I want to be like them. They fought and fucking thumped all day long. We lived a life like the Warriors. So when I was, when we got in some problem over there, I did a burglary and stole a bunch of money, and we bought a mini bike. Yeah. We used to rip up and down the street. We got arrested by the police. But when they ran the serial numbers, the bike wasn't stolen, so they gave it back. So our parents came, where the fuck do you guys get the money? Oh, it's Nicky's, I said. Nicky lived a couple blocks away. I went and parked it next to his house in an apartment building, those old staircases, and we went home. Nicky claimed that his father found it, gave him a beating. He got in all kinds of trouble. It wasn't even on his property. Yeah. So we went back to that Gaylord neighborhood because we used to hang out there sometimes. I got two good stories over there.
Oh, yeah.
And we're at this Western and Foster, like maybe Belmoral, maybe a couple blocks north of there. There was this hot dog hamburger place, game room. I was playing pinball in there, having fun. I had two of my fucking right-hand men from my corner. They're fucking supposed to have my back. Somebody called Nicky Traversi and told him I was there. I was scared of Nicky because I was 12, 13. Nicky was 16. That's a big difference when you're young, man. That's a man. That testosterone is running. He was bigger than me. And he came in, he stood next to me at the pinball. Oh, fuck. He's like, what's up, motherfucker? I'm like, yo, what's up? Fucking got in trouble because of you, man. You didn't get in trouble because of me. Fucking, I didn't put it on your property. Yeah, motherfucker, let's go outside. I said, Nicky, I don't want to fight you. We're friends. No, man, let's go. And I just kept playing, hoping he'd cool down. And I look at my friends and I go, what's up? And they go, he wants to go outside, heads up. And I go, but you guys are with me. And they're like, yeah, man, he's my cousin. And so they sold me out. And I learned this shit young, so I know the real truth about the fucking streets. So my game is over, it's someone else's game. He's kind of hassling me. I ask him if I can beg him probably to use the phone. They give me the phone, and I call the game room at Touhy and Ridge. And I asked the Packy or the Indian, whoever's working, I go, hey, man, this is Scott. Anybody in there? No, there's nobody here. Everybody gone. And I'm like, fuck, man, I'm here all alone. So I'm playing the game a few minutes later, and he sucker punches me in the face. I just said, let's go, motherfucker. The whole place emptied. We were out in this big-ass parking lot, and I gave him the ass-kicking of his life. Anybody who was there witnessed that shit, and then that's another 2 steps up the ladder. Because I could fucking thump, and I don't know why. Maybe it was the adrenaline. I don't know what it was, but I could react different than other people. And I've been doing karate and taekwondo since I was a kid. I could just fucking thump. And then a couple months later, a little while later, I was in the bad boy school at Foster, and my girlfriend, this Puerto Rican girl, Dolores Rios, she went to the grammar school that was on the same lot as Amase. I don't remember the name of it. She was a little gangbanger chick, and she hung around Senn, and she knew all the street shit, and she wore baggies and khakis, and she told me, man, I got this fucking guy over here. He's fucking with me, he's bothering me. And so I got no choice. I got to go there and stand up for my girl because we had street codes and ethics. I walked there were probably 50 people playing basketball on the court at that school right there. It faces Foster and whatever that other street, it's the light before Amase. Closer to Western, so on the west side of Damon. And she points him out, that's him. I walked right through the middle of the court. Back then, we wore these fucking stack shoes, platforms. I walked right across that court. The whole basketball kind of stopped and looked at me. I grabbed him by the hair and started fucking beating him, kicked him on the ground till he was fucking beat. Nobody jumped on me, nobody jumped in, and I walked off the court. When you start doing that kind of shit, that stuff follows you because a lot of guys can talk shit about how bad they are, but very few people can do heads-up fights and come out of there looking like a champ.
Tell me this: did you go by Lakeview High School too, with all the Royals?
I never hung out at Lakeview High School because my story goes back even further. I knew Timmy and Jeff Gilfillan. I knew Pat Gilfillan too.
Bimbo, Tuffy, the Gilfillan, the brothers, they got killed.
Yeah. Pat left. He went to Kentucky when Tuffy and Bimbo got killed. Jeff was
74, 75 that happened.
Yeah. Maybe even 76. Maybe Tim. He was Bimbo. Maybe he was 76. But Jeff Tuffy, he was a great athlete. That guy was a superstar Pop Warner football player. They have a plaque in his honor at the High Ridge YMCA honoring Jeff Gilfillan for his accomplishments in Pop Warner football. So they were street guys, tough. You're talking like Roosevelt. You had Roosevelt School, and then Paulina and Cornelia. So a little bit. I was still young. Later, we went to these places. I hung out with lots of guys, and in my time, we used to go to Central Park and Wilson. They had a club there. Somebody can remember the name. Central Park and Wilson. They had a social club. That was a Royal set, and it was like the Golden something, and that place was fucking battleground. Frenchy was there all the time, shootouts all the time. That place was fucking rough. Let's go take a look right down the street. We follow the street a few blocks, and we take a left, go a couple blocks east, and we are in the center of TJO hood.
All right, let's go down there.
School. Yep. Thorndale Jagoffs, TJO. Senn High School. The one thing I want to clear up right now before people start running their mouth off, I was not a TJO, but I was a bad motherfucker. So I was given this shirt by Gary Callis. He personally handed it to me in my hand. I was organized crime. I ran a crew in the streets after my gangbanging days, and Gary gave this to me. I did a few things along the way. I got some respect out there on the streets. And another thing, when I was young, this place did not look like it does. There were no trees. There was no foliage. It looked like a fucking battle zone. We used to play football out here.
Let's take a walk around.
This was, let's walk this way.
Okay.
Because on that corner, that's where that little grocery store, soda shop, game room was. And that's where the TJOs hung out, right there. And the TJOs were a serious street gang. They were probably one of the first, if not the first, white street gangs that was very organized. They were
Joe Gansey, Gary Callis, all the big names.
Yeah,
those
Gansey.
guys.
This is a funny thing. Right down this alley, the Trollman brothers live.
The Trollman, yeah, man, I've heard about them.
Yeah,
big family.
The big family. This was basically an Irish neighborhood, and then you had the hillbilly influx from the Appalachians, uptown, and here, there's just a lot of Irish big families here. You had the Trollmans. They lived right down this alley, and then the other alley, a couple houses down, that was the Trollman house, and that was like a meeting center. And down this street, early, that's where the Darings live. You had the Cooper family, and Mr. Cooper, the father, he was like a neighborhood watchman. He was trying to fix shit. That poor man, Gary, Joe Gansey gave him a fucking beating.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, street gang dudes are thugs and tough, and this father of 10, he wants to clean up the neighborhood, and I feel so bad for Mr. Cooper. A lot of his kids ended up street junkies and died from overdoses. The Trollman family, too, they had a bunch of overdoses in their family. This whole neighborhood got fucked by heroin. These guys started doing drugs, a lot of them.
During the 70s even.
Yeah. I don't want to offend anybody, and I don't want to tell any secrets that...
But telling it all correct, the way that it was.
But it was fucking rough. This neighborhood was rough, and these guys were rough, and there used to be a wall. There used to be a little wall here, kind of like a bench. We used to sit out here and hang out. And right there where this new row of townhouses is, that was that corner store where everybody hung out in the early 70s.
What was the name of it?
I don't remember the name of it. But,
Glenwood and Ardmore.
The Trollmans didn't live down that alley. It's actually the alley halfway down this street. So you go here and go over. That's where the Trollmans live. I haven't been here in a long time, but I'm going to tell you a good story.
All right, tell it.
Let's walk over here, and there's an alley right behind this new building, and they had that little wall here. When Wacker got out of prison for stabbing Bob Takaki, he came and picked me and Kid up from Farwell and Clark, and he said, I got some work for you guys. Took us out, we stole the bike, sold the bike, got some drugs, he got us high, and then he started telling us, okay, I got to meet this guy, the guy I stabbed and went to jail for. He called a meeting. He wants to meet me, and they're going to meet right where that post is. And Wacker had me with a sawed-off shotgun, because Kid got scared and took off, but I was a loyal soldier because I was still young and dumb. And I was wearing baggies, a fucking wife beater. I probably weighed 110 pounds, and I was hiding right down this fucking alley. It was different. None of this stuff was here. It was a different place.
It's fully gutted. It was just the lots.
No, there were houses.
Oh, but
there were old houses, and it was just completely different. It was the 70s.
Yeah.
And it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I was in there with that pump shotgun, and I had a ski mask, and the plan was, if Bob attacked Wacker, I was going to come out and eliminate Bob. I was going to run this alley. Runs right down to the Daring's house. So this alley curves around like Ridge does, and it comes right up. The next street over is Early, and it comes right up that alley. And I was going to run into his house, going to take it off my shit on, when I got there. His mom was going to put me up in the attic and hide me, bring me bologna sandwiches, and keep me there for a couple weeks till the heat.
Jeez.
And when I later became a crafty criminal, I said, "What a fucking terrible idea." But luckily, I was.
Didn't go through with it.
I was there, ready. Bob walked up and he said, "Wacker, it was my fault. No hard feelings. I'm sorry." And that was Bob Takaki doesn't know the story. He would no one would have ever known it. Except for me and Wacker. And I had nothing against Bob. I was a loyal soldier. I was fucking 12 or 13 years old. What did I know?
Right.
I was being fucking set out to dry. Wacker was my mentor. I looked up to him. He was a serious fucking banger, and that's what I wanted to be. And how do you get there? By doing this shit. You build your reputation, and by following what these guys do. But I didn't do it. And Bob, I heard you're still alive out there.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you and him didn't throw down, and glad nothing happened. But that's the life that we lived. We lived on the streets. We were fucking thugs. And by that, my uncle, Joseph Mandarino, he was a celly of Joe's for a long
Joe
time.
Gansey.
Joe Gansey. He was very good friends with
Menard.
Joe. No, when Joe got older and he calmed down, they got him out of Menard and they sent him to
So that like that Illinois River, maybe one of them.
Well,
like
one of the Illinois medium places.
softer, yeah.
And then he got cancer and he
he did.
shriveled
He died
down
in
to nothing.
2000, I believe.
Yeah, Joe used to call Mark Troman all the time. Me and Mark used to hang around. Mark's another guy who snitched on me.
Yeah.
I did some counterfeit money stuff with him.
Oh, did you?
He snitched on me, and I remember I said, "There's no fucking way. TJO not snitching on me, not fucking happening." I was in Georgia in prison. I'm locked up, and the lawyer tells me, "Man, you got some problems." And I said, "No, they got witnesses, and Mark Troman is on the list." I called him. I got his phone number. I called him, and he was silent. And hey, Mark, it's Scott. And I'm locked up, and they told me something. He goes, "Man, I'm sorry, Scott. It's true. I'm a junkie, Scott. What do you want?" I said, "Well, I want you to fucking retract it." And he goes, "No, man, I'll go to prison." I signed it. I already signed the statement. I got it. They just called me. I got to testify. I go, "Motherfucker, TJO." And let me I'll tell everybody a fucking story. Carson Rib Shootout.
Yeah, back in 1984 with Gary Callis.
The Carson Rib Shootout.
That was the last noise that the TJOs made.
Those were my planning and my jobs because Wacker wasn't real fucking bright. But whenever Gary and Wacker were involved in something, I took 2 steps back because there was always going to be violence because these guys were all or nothing kind of guys. It's not like, hey, I'll cut my losses here and I'll take the 3 years. Fuck that. I'll kill all these motherfuckers and hope to get away. So the Uzi that they used was mine. The 22 pistol that they used there was mine. And I backed out of that and they brought this guy, Eric Huber, with them. Eric Huber was another old fucking TJO and Eric fucking snitched on me because I'm going to try and be as cryptic as I can about what else happened. That same year, 1984, in June or July of 1984, there was an armored car robbery in the city. And there were a couple guys who planned it, and that guy Eric knew about the planning. And Eric was initially going to be involved, but because he was half a fucking retard, he wasn't involved. And the other guys that were involved in it successfully did it, and nobody got caught. And then that Carson Ribs thing happened, and when Eric's pussy ass got brought down to the station, they were beating him and torturing these. Gary, Wacker, and Eric were the ones for the Carson Rib Shootout.
Tell me this: during the Rib Shootout, did Gary with the fellas? They know that was the feds. Like they still wanted to.
They were robbing a drug dealer.
Okay, they did not know that was the federal government.
And it wasn't the feds; it was Chicago PD. And Chicago PD planned the whole thing inside of Carson.
They fucked it up, yeah.
And these guys couldn't smell it. They couldn't smell it. And so they end up getting busted for that. And Eric says, "Let me out. I got something for you." And he tells him about the armored car.
Oh,
and guess who he puts it on?
You?
He puts it on me.
Yeah.
Because he's locked up with Wacker and Gary. They're all in the county jail. So he knows if he snitches on Wacker and Gary,
they'll take care of him right there.
They got him right there.
Yeah.
So who does he put it on? He puts it on me. Because the day after the armored car robbery, me and Wacker bought matching brand new cars. And mine was a little nicer than his.
What car was it?
1984, I bought a brand new Corvette. A fucking Corvette with the big, 84 was the new body style. They didn't have one in 83.
No.
84 came out with a new one, and it was something special. And so the police picked me up. It took them a couple weeks to catch me because I had heard I had a tail on me and they were looking for me. Finally, they got me. They took me down. I was in 5 police stations. They just kept transferring me, beating me, transferring me, and they didn't get shit from me. No. They didn't get shit. I don't know nothing. I didn't do anything. And you know, they told me, they go, "Come on, man. Eric put it out there. He's not your friend. You know, these guys aren't your friends. We know. And I just fucking took it on the chin. And when I got out, I told Wacker, and nobody ever did anything to Eric. As far as I know, he died of a heroin overdose. It could have been intentional. Back then in the 70s and 80s, when you had an enemy, not me, I tried to stay as far away from that shit as I could. But when someone had an enemy, they would give them a hot shot.
Yeah, correct.
They would scrape battery acid off of a battery and mix it in with the heroin, make the person die. and that's what happened. And you know, these guys were fucking deep and intense. And when I started doing crime, the first home invasion I did, Wacker was calling me from Joliet, and I was telling him about it, and he told me, "This is what you got to do, bro. You're the lead on this." He said, "You take the guy into the bedroom after you tie him up, and you put him on the bed, and you put the pillow on his head, and you fucking kill him." And I said, "No, man, I'm not fucking killing this guy. I'm taking his drugs, and that's it." "No, man, he saw your face. You got to do it." They were like something from a 70s fucking cop and robber series. It was all or nothing. Wacker had 3 different bullets in his body. His fucking hand was mangled from a bullet. He would have shootouts with the cops at the drop of a dime.
Really?
He didn't give a fuck about anything. That fucking quick, it was a shootout. And I didn't know Gary that well, but I know Gary was a down motherfucker.
Right.
You know, I don't really want to talk about him. Gary's still alive. He's out there. He's living
doing
in
well.
peace. I know he had cancer. And so when I was held in the feds for the drug load, the feds came to talk to me, and I looked at him. I said, "I don't know nothing about any armored car robbery that happened." And he looked at his book and he goes, "Statute of limitations ran out on that. We're not interested in that."
Oh, that's nice of him.
And that was it. So the armored car can be talked about, and it can be spoken about. It's fucking over. And I'm sure the money is long gone. Whoever the lucky people were that got that money, I'm sure
they're living at large.
Well, I'm sure they didn't spend it wisely.
No, yeah, most likely.
It was only about 400 grand.
Oh, well,
And
back then.
1984,
Yeah, that's
the
a lot
average
of-
house cost $68,000 in 1984. I bought my first house in 1984. Bought my first house in 1984. $50,000 cash, Montrose and Ridge. I felt like I was fucking somebody.
king of it.
Finally, 50 grand in cash I paid for that fucking little shitty house. But to me, it was everything. And so from those years, after Wacker and Gary went away, I went to their trial every day. So I was at Gary Callis's trial every day, and I was at Patrick Daring's. They separated, but they had them on the same days. And Gary's trial was pretty intense because they had a current cop who was the son of a murdered cop testify against Gary. Gary was the suspect in his father's murder. His father walked the beat, I think, over here on Clark Street, and they found the father murdered. And if I'm not mistaken, he was hung on a fucking butcher hook in a grocery store or something. And he testified, but Gary was never, he was a suspect. That was it. But the guy testified to make the jury,
be more convinced.
Yeah.
Like Gary's a bad
him a little
person.
more. It was a trial. Gary took it to trial. I got.
Did he beat it?
He beat almost all of the charges.
Except
I think
one.
he got maybe 10 or 12 years.
Oh,
and Daring, I got him out on bond. I put up a $40,000 cash bond on Daring, and I got him out on Wacker so that we could get to work because I had some shit I needed to do, and he was good to have with me. And so I got him out on bond, and we extended that trial for another year. Then he pled guilty. I think he got 8 years.
Jeez.
So for the Carson ribs, he got 8 years. You do 4.
Yeah.
So Wacker
But
went
Gary
away for
did,
that.
like
and I
9
was
years.
just crime after crime after crime after crime, and I didn't need anybody.
But the money was coming in during those years.
I
the
was a
19
dealer.
Yeah.
I was dealing cocaine, quaaludes, weed, and I wasn't a small dealer.
No,
I
the
don't
big
want to
time, the
shoot
Rush
numbers.
Street,
And
yeah.
I was rolling. I wasn't the average guy. Just think about this. When I was 10 years old, I made those cards.
Yeah.
When I was 10, 11 years old, I gave people positions. You're the warlord. The weapons are here. And one of the other things that kind of broke my spirit was a little bit, I had a treasurer. So I put the most honest guy I could as treasurer, and we had a little book, and everybody had to give like $2 a week.
Okay.
And we used that for parties, whatever we needed. Nobody paid. And I'm like, you can't fucking organize these motherfuckers. How am I going to create an organized group? So when I got out of the gangbanging and I made crews. So I had probably 10 guys that I knew I could work with. 1 or 2 of them were royals from Farwell. One, two, three that I would do stuff with, and I had Wacker and I had a couple other guys. So if I wanted to rob a jewelry store, I knew which guys I would put the crew together, and the crew sometimes depended on who was in prison.
Yeah.
So if someone is in prison, can't get the right crew together, and some things I didn't want any option of violence, so I couldn't involve. You couldn't involve Callis and Daring if there's.
Like a plan going.
Yeah. Some guys jump, some guys move. People aren't stupid. I've had a gun on someone and they move and I punch them.
Yeah.
I don't want to shoot anybody. When I started doing home invasions, we had a few close calls and I started using birdshot. So I had this big fucking silver pistol because the time I went with a little automatic, The guy reached for me, and I punched him, and I said, nah, you can't see it. I wore all black ski mask, black gloves, and I got a black little gun in my hand. Fuck that, I got a big silver one. Freddie Coleman stole about 20 guns out of some burglary. So I bought them all. Freddie was a heroin junkie too. He would bring me shit all day, every day. And I started using that big silver revolver, and I got these birdshot shells. They were blue plastic and had a bunch of little BBs. You're not killing anyone.
No, that's a good thing.
But you're making a noise.
Oh,
and
yeah?
it's going boom, and people are like, fuck, shot. You'll see blood. And so I knew, and if I was ever in front of a jury, I can say, there is no attempted murder.
Yeah.
Because I fucking purposely bought these things. You can't even kill a little fucking sparrow with it. You're not fucking killing a person. But they're gonna be, you got the shock.
Yeah.
You have that
You
moment.
got the point across.
Yeah. They go, this is a real gun. And they're gonna feel a sting, and they're gonna think they were
Tell me
shot.
this though, Scott. Being a dealer during those years, did you deal with any kind of addiction with those substances?
I started using coke because we didn't know that coke was bad.
Yeah.
I had given up all kinds of drugs before that. When I started wrestling and boxing, I started wanting to be a purist. I started studying nutrition at 14 years old with that older woman that I was dating and living with.
School teacher. Yeah.
She was a great mentor. She had me going to school. She gave me vocabulary classes. I got high school credits for classes that I did in private with her. We had intimate lessons and then school lessons. And she introduced me to real men. I started meeting people that they have a job. They have a car, they have a business, their fucking shit is together. And then this is something anyone can recognize. All the fucking dudes I knew, they were on bicycles, man. You see a 20-year-old dude on a bicycle, you know he fucked up his life. Not as a sport. I mean, that's his transportation. He's wearing jeans and a fucking bandana, and he's fucking throwing up gang signs, and he's on a little kid's bike. And so that was another eye-opener for me. And I said, I want to get to the next level, and I want to get better. And I kept polishing it up, and I kept noticing. And I'm gonna be real candid here. And you know, I don't mean to offend anybody, but we were all fucking scumbags. We weren't helping our neighborhood. We weren't It was all about us. Anybody that crossed them, we gave them a beating. We're painting on the side of the buildings in our neighborhood. That's not an example you set. Right. Fucking protect your neighborhood. That cop Newman was at least right about that. Take care of your hood. The people will support you then. We were fucking scumbags, and when I realized, I started getting further and further, but then into the organized crime, and I just got deeper. And there was a point, you know, now I'm a grown man. I'm 61 years old, and that shit is many years behind me. I have 8 kids. I have a big business. I own properties. I have a really good life.
Tell us about the boxing world that you
when I ran down to Mexico as a fugitive, I was competing at kickboxing. So I had already fought amateur boxing, lots of fights, and I had fought a good amount of kickboxing fights. And I was down in Mexico. What do? I want to train. So I went to a boxing gym, and I stand out. Everybody there is Mexican, and I'm a white guy. And I stood out. I started making friends, and before long, I'm one of the better known boxing trainers in Mexico. Yeah. I had Julio Cesar Chavez train in my gym. Both of his sons, Omar and Julio Jr., trained in my gym many times. I was in Team Marco Antonio Barrera for many years. I accompanied Marco Antonio Barrera to the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Wow. I also accompanied Eric Morales when he was inducted in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. And last year, I accompanied the British guy, Ricky Hatton, into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. So I know a lot of people in boxing. I'm involved with a couple of boxers right now. I know my shit. I'm fortunate. But I saw the signs, and I pulled back. Gang banging is a fucking dead-end street. I was a street urchin. I was stupid. I was uneducated. I didn't know shit. You got to go to school, stay in school, and I tell my son, I have 8 kids, by the way. I tell my son, you can do anything you want. Success is mostly based on determination. If you decide I am going to do this and you don't fucking take no for an answer, you just go out there and do it. I'm going to give you an example. You say, I got to get in shape. I got to lift weights. You get rid of that cigarette. You get rid of fucking alcohol. You stop drinking juices and all that fake shit. Get rid of soft drinks. Wake up every day and go out for a walk. You wake up in the morning. You don't check your phone. You don't look at your emails. You don't do shit. You go out and you take a walk. Eat healthy, and you do this day after day. And it's the same thing with business. So I went down to Mexico, and I ended up being the master franchise for Gold's Gym. Gold's
Oh,
Gym
really?
is an
Gold's Gym.
international franchise. I own the rights to Gold's Gym. I franchise 34 clubs, and I own 6 of them on my own. I started a big, huge fitness equipment company. Yeah, there were bumps along the road, and it wasn't fucking easy.
What was the name of it? That fitness company?
I still have it. It's called Optimum Fitness. So so I still sell fitness equipment. I bring used stuff from the U.S. and I bring new stuff from Asia.
You've been around the world in Asia, Dubai, the Middle East.
I've been to 50 different countries. I've had a great
Rub
experience.
shoulders and hands with the big names I've seen.
I met Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. I met almost every world champion. Evander Holyfield. I've taken pictures with all the fighters. I've been front row at more boxing events than I can count in Las Vegas. I'm ringside at a lot of fighters' fights. I've been in many corners, but boxing is another hard world. That's a whole nother world. I am, like I said, I'm one of those guys. I analyze and I break shit up. And so I get called in sometimes like, we need some help. And I'll polish a fighter up and I'll say, let's work on this. I can go in, I can look at a fighter and I can analyze him. I can say, he doesn't have it, or he has it. I got a guy that I work with now. His name is Rafael Espinosa El Divino. He came into my gym when he was 15 years old, and as soon as I saw him move, I said, you can be world champ.
Oh, really?
He looked at me and he said, are you crazy? I said, no, you can be world champ. And I called Marco Barrera. He came to the gym to look at him, and he said, yeah, you're right. The kid's 6'1". Right now he fights at featherweight, 126 pounds. Back then he was bantamweight, like 116 pounds. And maybe 118, whatever it was. I just saw it. I saw the talent, and he won the title 2.5 years ago.
Holy shit.
And he didn't win it. He wasn't given that title. He fought the best of the best in the division. There's 4 main belts, the WBC, WBO, IBF, and the WBA. He fought the fucking hardest guy in the division. They said, you want a shot? You fight the Cuban champ, El Tren, like Ramirez, Robaisi Ramirez. He beat the fuck out of him in the first fight. And in the second fight, we trained even harder and better, and we polished him up. And he made this Cuban guy won 2 Olympic gold medals, just like Lomachenko.
Yeah,
this is a big
that's
deal.
Like the Ukrainian, just like I am.
And he was deadly, and Rafa made him quit in the 6th round. So yeah, the Eastern European guys are special. Life over there. My wife is Ukrainian. So I met my wife in Odessa, Ukraine.
Yeah, it's a nice city.
Yeah,
the port city.
absolutely.
And I've been there back as a kid.
Ukraine.
They're dealing with the war.
Yeah. I've been there many, many times. I like Ukraine. The food is fucking awesome. The people, what you see is what you get. There's no games and no bullshit. They just tell you the way it is. One day I was in the store waiting for her, and I was just kind of smiling. And she said to me, what are you doing? Why you smile? People will think you're an idiot. And I said, why? She said, people here don't smile. And it's just a different planet, man.
Yes,
but it's what you see is what you get. So now I got a whole successful life. I'm writing 5 books. I got the first one finished. After
Did you pick the titles yet?
I think the title of my cigar book is going to be Smoke. It's either going to be How I Made $1 Million Smuggling Cuban Cigars. I also have a saying, Burning to Succeed. So I'm working on the subtitle. And the book is with the editor now, so
it's going
I'm
up.
not
The
just
official
talking
published.
shit. No. It's with the editor. I have a publishing company. I have everything. From 1996 to close to 2000, I smuggled cigars out of Cuba because when I got out of prison, so I got busted. I had federal charges, state charges, all over the fucking country. They whisked me from one side of the country to the other. I got extradited out of Mexico. I had a fucking terrible everything. And when I'm locked up and I hear that childhood friends are snitching on me, somebody's trying to fuck my girlfriend, this other guy's doing that, I said, we're all alone in this fucking world. We're all alone. When I got out of jail, that the lawyer was such a good man, Thomas Garwood, I want to give him credit. He believed in me, and I didn't want to disappoint him. He worked my charges in Georgia, so I was able to get on with my life, and I made a promise to myself, I'm not fucking up anymore.
Okay, that's it, man. Since then, it's been
pretty much straight, but I was struggling. I had a gym, but it was small. I wanted to build and expand, so I went to 2 guys that I was tight with. I'm talking guys we were in the trenches with, and they were both big dealers. One of them was a Colombian, and he was big, and the other one was my right-hand man since we were kids, and they were both rolling. And I helped them out many times. Nice. And they both told me they would loan me the money to buy these pieces of property that were vacant next to my building, and they both backed out on me. And I wasn't mad. I said, we're alone in this world. And I told my wife at that time, I said, this is the fucking world. I'm not mad at them. They're not obligated to give me shit. They don't know if I'm going to pay it back, even though I say I'm going to. I said, I'm going to figure out a fucking way to do it. I was bringing boxing gloves from Mexico to the U.S. to sell while I was on parole, and I was making money and paying my trip, but it was fucking peanuts, and I kind of felt bad. I went to Cuba on a vacation. Went to Cuba. I got 2 boxes of cigars because I just felt bad for the guys. I bought 2 boxes of Cuban cigars. I knew nothing about cigars. I had an old mafia uncle that smoked cigars. He talked like this. Yeah, Scotty, what are you doing? Always had a cigar in his mouth, but he was dead. What the fuck am I going to do? I went to my friend's house, the one guy who was still selling dope. People out there might know him, Brett Hodges, who's deceased. He passed away a few years ago. I went to Brett's house and I picked up the newspaper on his table, and it was heavy. And he goes, ooh, I wouldn't touch that if I were you. I said, what's that? He winked at me. Arturo was here. And that was a Colombian guy. And I'm like, oh, man. I put my sleeve down. I wiped it off. And I'm thinking, I got to get the fuck out of here. I can't be in a house. This guy's fucking dealing. And I gave him the box of cigars. A week later, he asked me for more. You got more? I said, no. I said, what did you do with them? You smoked 25 cigars already? He said, no, I sold them. I said, how much? He said, $25.
Holy shit.
I said, fuck, $625. I added it up quick. $625 for a box of cigars. I paid $20 on the street in Cuba. I said, that's it. I said, if I brought those, you think I could sell them? He said, yeah. And he told me a story about another guy who rode around on a scooter with a backpack, and he had like a 4-cigar minimum. You'd sent him a beep, and he showed up at any nightclub, smoke club, restaurant, and sold you 4 cigars minimum. He had a whole case and assortment, and he was making good money.
By Rush Street over there with all the big names.
Exactly, the Gold Coast.
Yeah, the Gold Coast.
And that fucking light went off in my head, and I went right back to fucking Mexico, and I started asking around. I'm one of those guys who gets shit done.
Yeah, you do.
I'll fucking knock on every door. I'll kick that door open. I'll knock and beg and ask for a favor, and who do you know? That's how you get shit done. You got to move. And I know people. I get along with people. I always got along with people. And I found a Cuban guy who lived in Mexico, and he sold cigars. So it started there, and I did it for about 3.5 years. I would smuggle them out of Cuba because you were only allowed a limited amount out of Cuba, $1,000. And some of the real boxes cost $1,000. So I couldn't bring out, so I had to get customs agents to corrupt them, to get them to let it out. And then in Mexico, I had to get through customs, and I had to corrupt federales. I didn't have to corrupt them. I had to work a deal with them.
Yeah, like they were corrupt by themselves.
Yeah. In Cuba, I had to corrupt them. I would
really?
wine and dine them because they're scared.
Oh, they're scared.
Oh, they're scared. They get caught in Cuba. It's the end of their fucking life.
Nothing
against
that's when
the government.
Castro was still around.
No, yeah. I spent 4 years in Cuba. I saw Castro once.
Oh, did
I
you?
spent. It was
like a gorgeous people, gorgeous country, but just the politics.
Everything's fucked up. Third world. You know, they don't have money. They don't have opportunity. The government oppresses people. You're gonna have problems.
Yeah.
And then the U.S. embargo keeps them from making it easier. You know, if they had the help from Miami and people could go over there and build condos on the beach, because it's very underdeveloped. Very.
Really?
I know Cuba from the back
just like
of my
that
hand.
Uptown, huh?
Oh, yeah, very similar to Uptown in the 70s. Very similar. So I started doing this Cuban cigars. Those Cuban cigars, and those 3.5 years that I did it, they gave me the opportunity to buy the pieces of properties, build my building, furnish my gym. When I bought the equipment for the gym, that was it. I said, I'm done.
Yeah.
I had 30 boxes of cigars left in my mother's closet. I didn't spend any money. I fucking hustled 3.5 years kissing people's asses. I used to go to their houses, their offices, carry my big fucking bags of cigars, lay them out. I sold to Michael Jordan, Richard Dent, Sean Gale, Donnell Wolford. I sold to the Bears coach. I used to go to Michael Jordan's house.
Like by Highland Park.
Yeah, big 23 on the game. I used to go there and hang out with Michael, and I had every fucking kind of business. I had lawyers, doctors, judges, dentists. I had the creme de la creme. Who else has $1,000 to waste?
Spend on cigars.
I had people that would spend 20 grand in a sitting. In one sitting, I'd lay them out. They go this, and I'd go, okay, 350, 450, 550. That one's 1,100. Okay, 20 grand, and they'd pay it, and it was amazing. And I was breaking the law, but it was more a moral law.
Yeah, moral law.
There was no stigma against it, but many people went to prison for smuggling cigars.
Really?
Yeah, there was a Chicago lawyer. His name is Mickey Connors. Okay. He went to prison for smuggling cigars. He was doing it at the same time as me, and he wrote a book. His book is not going to be anything like mine because my streets made me able to survive. This is a
Yeah.
fucking yuppie lawyer. Nothing. No
Yeah,
one was
nothing's
getting
gonna
over on me. They sent me an edited copy of my book recently, and I looked at it. They took out, this guy owed me money here in Chicago, and I got Wacker and another guy. We went over his house. We fucking beat him up, hung him out of the window of his house, and I took his Rolex. And they took it out, and they go, we're going to leave the violence out. I go, no, man, that's what
That's
makes
the
it
whole book.
exciting.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just a fucking schlep selling cigars. I got robbed in Mexico City. I got hijacked in my car in Guadalajara. I had to fight off the fucking bandits at the border. Cuba was a fucking zoo. Everybody wanted to fucking steal from me. I had to worry about getting
It was never
arrested.
that simple. It was always a challenge,
It
a
wasn't
roadblock.
simple. So I tell you guys, you can do anything you want. Stay off the fucking streets.
Thank you very much for your time, Scott. It's
You're
a pleasure,
welcome.
brother.
Thank
God
you.
bless you.